Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 527th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call tonight we have the Lone Ranger himself, Andy Patterson, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everybody listening through the week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, or you might be on Spotify. Either way, don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice. Throughout the entire month of June, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. No Matty DiGiannato this week or next week. Unfortunately, he's off sunning himself in Colorado, enjoying the golf, etc. Hopefully, Rob will be able to join us at some point, and maybe Ozzy as well. If not, me and Andy will motor on as best as we possibly can. It was a fiddly weekend of action. There were all sorts of bits and pieces going on. Shout out to everybody in the chat. They might have seen the BT card on Friday night with Frank Warren. Ryan Fragg was in action as well. Callum Walsh over in California. Bit of AB coming up later. Bit of Showbox. Woo! Bit of Sonny Edwards. A bit of Jaime Munguia in probably the fight of the weekend. But there's only one place we can possibly start on this episode 527. That's the Madison Square Garden in New York. Bob Arum for top rank, Josh Taylor going in against Teofimo Lopez. The WBO World Super Lightweight title was on the line, but we all know who the main man in the division is, or should we say was, Josh Taylor, after losing to Lopez by unanimous decision, 115, 113 times 2, and more realistic in my eyes, 117, 111 as well, all in favour of Lopez, the winner. We were talking off air about this, Andy. It might sound a little bit hyperbolic, but Taylor, to me, I'm not saying he is this, but he looked like a listless fighter. He looked like a shot fighter. He had no legs. He had no engine. He was holding on at the end. I thought just to stay in the fight, had very little to offer. I've said it before on this podcast. He's climbed the mountain and now he's sliding down the other side a little bit. He is tight at the weight. We all know that. Things move fast in the sport of boxing. And it turns out Teofimo Lopez isn't quite the busted flush that we once thought.
It's very true in all counts, mate. I think a lot of people probably got it wrong, probably really looked too much into Teo's personal life taking effect on him. Which it is, obviously will have an effect on you if you can show a divorce and, you know, you can show that kind of court issues with your son and all that. It is going to have some sort of effect on him, but for some reason, for 40 odd minutes, he seemed to put it all to the side and just dial in, and turned up last night, and he turned up in a big way. Massive, man. I mean, you could say, Josh, is this the next thing in terms of weight and that, but still, you got to go in there and win the fight against a bigger guy. You could see he was bigger than that as well. Josh, I think, had put on something like 16 pounds, the rehydration and that. Maybe that was made him sluggish, but mate, I think we could all safely say is he has not been the same fighter since he left Shane McGuigan back after the Regis Prograis fight, and much his performance has been like since then. no great. The Ramirez fight was probably one that he kind of really stepped it up a wee bit, but it got kind of close down the back half of the fight as well. Josh Taylor coming up through the ranks was a beast. He would be all action. You all saw how he fought against O'Hara Davis. You all saw him how he fought coming up through the ranks and that as well. He was absolute aggressive. When you got you on the ropes, he was pinging the body, it was uppercuts, and he was really, really kind of putting damage on you. For a moment there in the 10th round there last night, you had Lopez on the ropes, and he didn't even throw a single shot. I'm saying, time's up. That's, that was his moment. If he was to get himself back into the fight, because I agree with you, those two scorecards, 115, 113, were far too close. 117, 111 is probably about fair, probably right actually. So coming into that as well, I just think he was having problems with the pace. He held his feet, looked slow on his feet. Nothing that he landed was really kind of phasing Lopez. Seen Taylor get wobbled just at the kind of tail half at the end of the 7th. I just felt like Taylor felt like he could maybe just walk forward into Lopez, and Lopez, for some reason, as I say, he's put it all together there last night. He's come back to his amateur game, and he just went back to boxing. You saw how quick he was. That right hand was rapid. The feet were fantastic. Okay, he's doing a bit of clowning around in that, but that's his mojo back. He's getting confidence. It was probably the best he looked for me since the Lomachenko fight, and I think he's probably just negated or neglected his natural boxing ability and just decided that he's got the power, he can step in himself and bang away. Which you saw against George Kambosos. It's not really the case that if he meets someone who's wanting to kind of match him. In terms of Taylor and that as well, as it could be a combination of things. Shane McGuigan not been the same fighter since he left there. He's had a very long amateur career, and he's had a lot of hard fights in his pro career and that as well. So maybe he has left a wee bit in the gym, a wee bit in the ring and that as well, leaving it on the scales and that. But at the same time, as you can't take away from what Teofimo Lopez did there last night. He was absolutely on point. Probably made a fool out of everybody there, or most people, shall we say. But I still go back to it. He just has not been the same fighter since the Prograis fight. I think Josh Taylor. It probably kind of showed going down the back half of the fight. He was always in great condition, always ready for the 12 rounds. As you say, he was sort of hanging on there towards the back half of the 12th round with some of those body shots. He got rattled a few times, Taylor, throughout the round, that to the head and body after the 9th round and that as well. There was a question whether Taylor could come on strong down the stretch, really, and he really needed to come on strong. And there was a moment in the 10th when Taylor had Lopez on the ropes, as I mentioned, and he just didn't do nothing, done nothing with him. And then the old adage we always say, we've seen it with James DeGale, when we see fighters changing stances during fights, that's a clear sign they're frustrated, that they're getting nothing home, there's nothing landing for them. Which Taylor was doing as well down the back half of that fight. He was switching stances, trying to change it up, and he was just getting picked off. And that's it, basically. I don't know what next for him, to be fair. He says he's going to keep fighting. If he's going to keep fighting, then he needs to be out quick. I think he needs to be out before the year finishes at 147.
Yes.
Who he fights, I don't know, to be fair. Obviously needs a couple of tune-up fights to see how it goes, but I agree with you. I think it's now on the slide now. I think he's achieved a great deal. Not many people can become undisputed champions and that. And I think once he did the Ramirez job and that, it was job done basically, and it's been hard to kind of maintain it for him to try and. But fair play to Lopez and that as well, as you cannot deny the guy and that he really stepped it up, because it looked like Taylor had the perfect camp. It looked like his weight was spot on. He didn't look drawn so much on the scales. And by his own admission, he had a great camp in that as well. So there's no excuses in that regard. It's just on the night, Lopez turned up and just turned it on. And it was tremendous to see, actually. It really was, because I didn't think he had it in him. And over his last few performances, he's neglected his own boxing skills. And last night he brought it back. And he brought it back in abundance. It was a great performance.
Yeah, he did. He kind of brought back the energy I felt that we were feeling with Lopez whenever he was coming up through the weights. Shout out to Big Beatbot Boop, who's thrown in the 199 super chat. He's asked a question as well, which we will touch upon very shortly. First of all, Mr. Boop has said it was the best he'd felt at the weight. That's a lie. I think so as well now. They're talking a rematch afterwards. Josh threw in. I think it was just cursory mention of a rematch. I don't really want to see that. Does nothing for me. Don't think he can do anything differently at that weight. Taylor has sort of been fooling himself in many respects for a while now. I think he appeared unmotivated. He was emotionally disinterested. I just don't think his body could do what he wanted. His mind wanted it to do. The fire, as Andy said there, just was not burning. And I think as well, also, Andy, as much as Teofimo grew into the fight, I felt like Taylor's performance allowed him to visibly grow in confidence. As he saw Josh waning, he wasn't using that huge size difference. At the beginning, I was surprised how big he was compared to Lopez, and getting that jab going. His performance allowed Lopez to visibly grow in confidence. He started smiling, dancing, giving the impression to everyone he was winning the fight. Then all of a sudden, he was winning the fight. Regis Prograis was texting away. There was a definite shift in momentum. After about round 4, I found it very difficult to give Taylor anything. I think his performance allowed Lopez to grow in confidence and handed it back to him. I think a dominant, on-form, fit and firing Taylor shuts that fight right down. He pushes their mental demons into Lopez's head, Andy, and closes him out right down the stretch. But he really allowed him to grow in confidence.
It's the same. It looked like once you get Lopez into a rhythm, there's no really many people who could probably beat him. Actually, to be fair, and you say once he got the confidence going, he was, the ego was up. He was looking cockeyed and all that stuff. He has got physical gifts that can't really be taught to people. He's got the speed. He's got the footwork. It's just the wee bit on the outside. It's the fragility, his mental state, and that kind of holds it together for long enough. That is a real thing. But he's proved everybody wrong big time. You see, I really did think it was close to being done. I mean, we all saw that thing, that interview with Kriegel, with his dad coming in the back there, and the kind of argument that broke out, that type of thing. That made, according to Tim Boxer, that made ESPN Sports Center. Now that's a big deal. I think that's their main sports page over in America, and that's the whole thing made ESPN over there. So it kind of like, what's happening here? Is he burned out a wee bit like Tyson, possibly? Promising fighter, 22-year-old, and he's washed up. He's lost his titles. He's losing everything else. Outside the ring and that. It's just can he adjust? And I listened to Bob Arman that after fight. Apparently they had someone else in camp, possibly for to help with the training. So maybe that's probably helped matters in that as well, because I was really going to ask the question after I heard that, actually, how much of that performance there was Teofimo Lopez rather than his dad giving him the instructions. Maybe his dad said, look, you need to get back to how you were as an amateur, boxing, moving, counter punching, using that speed. Because did you catch the two jabs that Lopez threw in about the 9th or the 10th round, like Superman? He just jumped off the ground.
Yeah, when he dived in, a bit like Lopez, who fought Conlan there, I thought recently.
That's confidence, man. That's when you know you're really in the fight, or as you say, as he's in the fight, but now he's winning the fight, and just that confidence was just leading up to it. And I says those jabs, some of those late shots and those counters were really, really successful. And I just can't rate that right hand high enough as to how he was catching Joshua. And you can see as well as, I'll say the last 3 rounds, but certainly the 12th round, I thought Taylor slowed down. And by the way, did the 2 of those judges not give Taylor the 12th round?
I didn't see the individual scores, although I was interested in how they went.
Aye, someone might. I did see them, but someone might be able to confirm it in the chat there. But I'm pretty certain the 2 judges that maybe had it 115, 130. I'm sure had the 12th round.
He's surprised at that. I thought he was clinging on towards the end. That
Mate.
Seems like those type of scores that they want to, when they want to tighten up their scores so they don't look like outliers at the end, like an Adelaide bird. Better tighten up my scores so I can tuck in unnoticed here.
Aye, so you didn't want it too wide, but you wanted it kind of close.
Oh, it happens. We know it happens.
Aye, I know. Oh, of course it does. Of course it does. But yeah, look, I suppose the other thing as well is the other real winner on all this is probably Teofimo Lopez's mental health and that as well. Considering, and I don't believe for a second he's retired. I do not believe that for a second. He's maybe just want to take some time away and go and deal with his issues and that, and then come back. But he ain't going to walk away with all that cash. It's going to be on the table now with that after that win. Shakur Stevenson, maybe a Devin Haney fight. If the ballfire can try and get the finances together and that. Yeah, but as I say, look, we all know Lopez can, he can do that. But it's the thing is, can he maintain it, and can he? Is it an interest thing? Is it a level thing? Does he fight down to the level of his opponent? Does he fight up to the occasion? Don't know what it is really, but if they can keep it together and that, the kid will have a very, very successful career. Saying that, 25-year-old, two-time lineal champion, two division lineal champion at 25 actually. So I suppose you could maybe argue that maybe Catrol should be the lineal champion after the Taylor nonsense and that as well. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, possibly. Shout out to my esteemed co-host Matty DiGianardo, who can't be with us, but he did send a point in to me on WhatsApp, which Andy's just picked up on there, so I'll just throw it out
Was it
now.
10th round? Sorry, 10th round. Somebody said in the chat.
Oh, was it right? Okay. Well, that's that confirmed. Matty says the only point I would like to make for the pod, if you can incorporate it, anything for you, Matty, is that Tszyu's greatest asset is also his biggest problem. He fights to the level of his opposition. I wonder how much of a bigger problem that is, Andy, because even though he looked shit against Camper and he looked even worse against Sandor Martin, if he can just get through those fights as best as he can, and obviously the Campos one didn't quite work out, and perform like that in these big fights, then maybe fighting down to the level of opposition isn't the worst kind of detractor you can have in your whole career.
No, I suppose not as well. I remember all the shit that he got for the Nakatani fight, but then obviously we didn't know that it was actually a slanging match going on behind the scenes in the dressing room with the mum and the ex-wife.
Right.
And then
just get through. You just got to get through those fights, haven't you?
Exactly, aye. Just walking out to the ring like that and all that shit going on, and then he comes back with that massive commie knockout, and then the Lomachenko win. Obviously, it's the COVID era and that as well. So maybe that kind of like stunted his development a wee bit in that as well. We knew the weight was becoming a wee bit an issue as well at 35, and he blamed that for the Cambosis loss, but there will be an element to that as well, fighting down to the level of his opposition. But when it comes to it's probably just the occasion that matters to him rather than the opponent, possibly, But it just shows you, the two biggest names on his resume, Lomachenko and Taylor, in terms of prestige or titles or talent. He stepped up on both occasions and won them well as well. Actually, to be fair, so. Big game player. That's all you can say, mate. End of the day, if you can win the other fights, it's like the old saying that if you can beat the weird teams in the division, that is fine. But you got to beat the bigger ones when it matters. So he's done that, and you can't knock it. Fair play to him.
No, absolutely fair play to him. Aim's making a point as well, which I think is quite a good one. He said Tszyu twice now subverting the trope that showing emotional vulnerability in a fight week is detrimental to your in-ring performance. Yep, as Michael Thompson says, sometimes fighters just find that peace in the ring. I thought he might be going the Tony Ayala route, but he definitely isn't at the moment. He seems to have got himself together in the ring at least. Hopefully, we can, pretty much similar to Taylor, like Andy said earlier, if we can get Lopez out again soon, get him fighting, get him training. Although he does seem to keep himself in pretty good shape, actually. He doesn't seem to be someone, for all of his mental demons and fragility, who actually blows up in between fights. So I don't think keeping him in the gym is a problem, but keeping him focused. Hopefully, Bob can get him those big fights now. And keep him on the right path. Shout out to Jay Rich there. He's got a Welsh flag in his commentary, in his little icon thing there. I haven't seen that name before. He's made a couple of points, which I don't necessarily agree with, but you're very welcome anyway, Jay Rich. He said, I don't think Taylor was that bad. I just think Tszyu was that good. I don't necessarily agree with that, actually. I think Tszyu was good, but as I said, he rose into the contest. He grew into it because Taylor was just so listless and bad, and I think it gave Lopez confidence, and once he hit that groove and he hit that momentum from the mid-rounds, he's a very hard man to stop, and Taylor just wasn't getting any stronger. Also, Jay Rich says, he upped his game from the Catterall fight. I'm not necessarily sure he did up his game from the Catterall fight, because if you remember in the last 3 rounds of the Catterall fight, 10, 11, 12, even though he wasn't looking great, he was really trying to force the fight. He was making it dirty. He was trying to grab hold of Catterall. He was pushing him back. It wasn't effective work, but he was really going for it. I didn't get that impression last night that he was really going for it. Like in that 12th round, he was doing anything but pushing Lopez back, trying to get the knockout. In fact, he looked like the person who was going to get knocked out or knocked down, at least, if anybody was. He does have a very good chin, though, Kazagi kind of chin. I think he does take a shot very well. Beatbot Boop, by the way, I mentioned earlier, threw in a question. We'll throw it out to you now, Andy. He says, do you think Josh could go to the Kronk team? And I'll just throw in as well, styles, coaches, etc. I think everything better last night for Taylor came off the jab, and then he stopped using the jab. He started posing in range. He wasn't doing anything. He was standing off, trying to box at times and load up, got caught out. He seemed more effective when he was trying to smother Lopez, as he did with Catterall before, using his physical strength, take away the Lopez space and the distance. But there was too many periods in that fight when he didn't do either. He didn't stand off and jab, or he didn't smother Lopez. He stood in no man's land, square on, getting knocked with shots. It's almost, to me, from McGuigan, which was his peak, to Davidson, to McNally, doesn't matter who's in the corner. He looked like a fighter last night who was caught between styles. He just didn't really know what to do.
Also, he was having severe problems with the footwork and that as well with Lopez. Lopez was turning him quickly, and obviously Josh having to then turn. He's trying to reset himself before he knows where Lopez is then halfway across the ring, and he's then got to follow him. He did catch Lopez with some good flush shots, and that, I think around about the 8th and the 9th. And I think there might be a slight cut or maybe a bruising around about Lopez's face a wee bit, but it never had really much impact on Lopez. I thought Lopez took Taylor's best punches, ate them as such. Didn't never look flustered. I didn't think anyway. Some of those shots. As for the Cattrall fight, I agree. There hasn't really been a marked improvement, in terms of performance levels, and that, because the reason why I was so confident about Taylor coming into this fight is obviously I mentioned Lopez and the fragility of him, or shown outside the ring, and that you just wonder if it's going to catch up with him at some point. But with Taylor, just this thing with moving camps, and I just think it's just come at the wrong time. He's just completely missed the boat. Actually, I really think he has missed the boat here. Made the wrong moves. I don't know if he's been badly advised not to change trainers. He said he wanted to take control of his own career. Well, he done that. He changed trainers. He went to Ben Davison for a couple of fights. Couldn't become undisputed, and it's been all down the hill. Against Cattrall, it was desperation stage, and even when we were watching it and knowing it was desperation, thinking Cattrall was winning the fight, he never really done anything different. He wasn't really really landing anything heavy on Cattrall. Cattrall was never really flustered as well. And again, I think it's a fine balance between possibly the weight or he's on the slide. It's just simple as that. And I go back and mention it. Taylor's had a lot of hard fights, amateur and pro, lengthy pro amateur career. Didn't he turn pro until what? 25, I want to say, mid-20s. And then you think about, he's been pushed up through the ranks pretty quick in that as well. He only had, 19, 20 fights?
Very quickly, hard fights under the McGuigan tutelage as well. We only left McGuigan because
regular
of the MTK
fights
thing.
As well.
There was no other reason to leave McGuigan. It's because of the MTK thing.
Aye, maybe it was, again, that's what I mentioned about being poorly advised and that.
Yeah.
But again, it's just been all Pete Tong and that. It just shows you, boxing waits for no man at the end of the day. It was a good matchup on paper and that as well but then Lopez just made it look not so much easy. I thought Taylor must have thought he was just going to I felt as well he's going to overwhelm him. But it just shows you boxing is great. That it just shows that sometimes it's just all down to that class of styles. And the fact is that Lopez was happy to kind of take that wee half step back. He wasn't willing to hold his feet for long as well. He was willing to move, box. That's what really befuddled and offset Taylor in that as well, is he couldn't get Lopez to stand with him for long enough to trade it out. And if they did, Lopez was usually having the final answer.
And on Beat Bot Boop's comment as well, going to the Kronk gym. I mean, I think stylistically it might change a few things, but I don't think it's there. I mean, that's the last place he needs to be. I know they're not like Tommy Hearn sparring anymore, but putting in work in that gym and trying to incorporate that style, I just don't think he's got it in him anymore. I think he's just burnt out.
I don't know what he does different, mate. I mean, I can remember Josh being in the gym pre-Olympics 2012 London, and he was in sparring Ricky Burns, and he was giving Burns, I think he was champ at the time as well, gave him everything he could handle. He was a machine, constant engine. Whenever there was a break, he was always bouncing on his toes, ready to go again, and that type of thing. Didn't see that last night. There's no bounce. Didn't seem to be a lot of snap. He came out early in the first round. He was really kind of like, on it then, and then it just seemed to kind of fritter away. Is it the gas? I don't know, mate. It's even changing trainers at this point as well. I mean, this would be his fourth change in his career. He's still got one of the boys in his corner for his amateur days. I think it's Terry McCormick, the guy's name is.
Yeah.
He was there last night, but Maybe
that's not going to change the legs going at the weight.
No.
That's not going to change the stretch last night. That was a physical thing for me. I think he was really desperately trying to do things, and his body just wouldn't respond for whatever reason. I don't think sticking someone new in the corner is going to change that, personally.
Yeah, even at 140, mate. And if he wants to go to 147, his time's limited up there as well. I mean, I don't know what age Josh is at this point, 32, 33 possibly. I think going to pull up the rankings, but he's not going to be getting title shots anytime soon, is he?
He's 32, yeah.
32, and they're going to be getting title shots anytime soon. I'm just going to pull up the rankings here at 147 and see what we've got here in terms of names. Obviously, you need to think about ESPN. Not great. I mean, what's inspiring for you here? Alex Rocha, Cody Crowley, maybe the Virgil Ortiz fight, but he's having problems making.
What about the WBO route? Who's high up there? Because he's more likely, isn't he, being a champion, to get another shot up there quicker, I think, with them. So
you got Blair Cobbs, Giovanni Santillan, Jamal James, Liam Taylor, and Mario
James,
Barrios.
maybe. Different Jamal James PBC though.
That Gayazov, the Uzbekistan, I think he fights next week, actually.
There's nothing there
there's
that you'd
nothing
be interested in.
There's nothing there that would really interest you. And really, any of those names that you're looking at, obviously they're top 10 ranked names. And that Taylor probably would step into the top 15 possibly. You need to start picking names out of that top 15 to start fighting them if you want to keep going. But it's a hard one, really. I really don't know what you do with Josh Taylor at this point, to be fair. And changing camps, I don't think is going to be the answer, really, to be fair, either, because he's even put out a statement saying, great camp, thanks to the team and all that, named them all. So it seems that he'll probably stay with those guys at least. It's a hard, again, some of these names here. Charlo's, you Echo Eastman.
He's not going to go back to that level, is he?
Well,
I don't think.
He's going to have to go back to some sort of... He's going to have to come down a level, mate. Really.
Have an Essien kind of level, I think, maybe.
Possibly. But he needs to come down a level, really, to kind of see where he's at. It's because he's going to go up in weight, I think. This time he's going to go up in weight. But he needs to have some sort of kind of bounce back to see what's happening, see if he's still got it, see if he's still got the appetite for it and that as well. He must have made a shitload of cash during that boxing tournament as well, the World Boxing Super Series and that. So
I hope so, because he deserves it. I've said before, I heard on different American podcasts them kind of going on about his run and it wasn't all that. That's absolute bollocks, man. I'm not having that for a second. The Catchall loss and the the Catchall fight and the Teofimo loss, as damaged as they are to his legacy or whatever, I don't think they'll take away from that run he went on. It was a Froch-esque run, and actually Joe Burns threw this in beforehand. He said this is before the Lopez fight, but if he beats Lopez, who has the better British boxing resume, Carl Froch or Josh Taylor, I'll always say that run that Froch went on is really hard for beat. Love him or hate him. And I saw him on Showbox actually on Friday night, being inducted into the International Hall of Fame. That was an amazing run. But Taylor's wasn't far off in terms of them people he was beating. You can turn around and say, oh, it was all this, and like Ramirez, he pushed him and knocked him down, and Prograis and this, that, and the other. No, I'm not having that. It's a load of bollocks. And Baranchik, they were really, really good versions of Postal, Baranchik, Ryan Martin unbeaten, Prograis, as we mentioned, Ramirez, etc. That was a hell of a run. That was.
You need to remember as well, a lot of people, and some people forget this, had the O'Hara Davis fight marked as a 50-50 fight. Loads of folk had backed Davis to beat him. And I think they're all surprised that it's how it kind of turned out, because that was one of that when I think about Josh Taylor at his peak, that's what I'm thinking about. The beatdown he put on that night is prime Josh Taylor, and that is how I expected him to be looking there last night, and he didn't have it. And what we know that was 2017. That's what 4 or 5 years ago. Just shows you. Yeah. Your peak 1 minute and then like you're on the slide the next. I really think he is on the slide. I mean, you remember all the kind of bruising he used to take, the cuts and that. Remember the Vasquez fight? He was swollen in that one. He had a badly swollen eye against Prograis. Been in the wars, and you've all heard the stories about the sparring wars and that. If something got dropped low or there's a wee sneaky elbow running about the ribs or whatever, and that the fucking red must come down, and Taylor would go to war. Maybe that's just taken out him as well. Gym wars, the weight, and his professional career and his amateur career is all added up, and it's now coming home to roost.
Yeah, the too inactive, as Danny says, you can't have that inactivity when you're busting your guts to make weight. Absolutely. Jim McDonald makes a good point as well. He says 23 likes and 14,183 listeners. Some of you need to start exerting yourselves onto that like button. That's something that we can agree with. One final point about the main event before we move on to just a quick recap of the undercard and then on to the other fights, Andy. I rate the referee Michael Griffin, but I think he needs to be stronger. This wasn't an issue as the fight went on, but I saw early on he allowed Teofimo Lopez to micromanage him at times. They clearly had a word beforehand saying, keep an eye out for Taylor. He pushes the head down. He does this, that, and the other. Both of them were doing dodgy moves. Lopez, if you notice, he sneaks off to the side and drops an elbow in at times. And he pushed Taylor as well, which is fine. But every time Taylor did anything, Lopez turned around to him and micromanaged Griffin. To a couple of times, he turned around and actually pulled him in. And Griffin went ahead, like almost on puppet strings, and called a timeout on behalf of that. I'm not a fan of that. The referee needs to be mentally stronger for me.
Yeah, that's a Canadian guy, and obviously Josh got his own.
He's a good ref too.
I'm just trying to remember if there's any other fights he's maybe been a bit suspect in that, but yeah, you get it in that as well. I mean, it'd been interesting last night if it had. Obviously, it was quite feverish crowd for Lopez. It'd be interesting to see if Taylor had actually maybe even got that decision. And the fucking crowd would have been mental. But yeah, the ref. to be honest, I wasn't paying much attention to him in that, but he was. I remember when Lopez, I think he turned his back a couple of times, possibly. I think the ref had said to me, "You need to turn back round about. You can't turn your back in that." And then I think when they were kind of locking up, he turned his back on Josh Taylor again. He was then hitting a kind of like back, like throwing a punch for like behind his back, really, kind of like on Josh's stomach that time. I think just shit like that, really. Stuff that shouldn't really be going on, and stuff that should be getting curbed out. And then obviously Lopez had that funny moment towards the end, like right at the very end of the last round. He ran away into the corner just before the bell rang. I was like, what the fuck's all that about? And the ref's like, look, where he gone, dude? So, yeah, see, I thought the ref was okay, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of micromanaging fights. Not the best refs are the ones that are not really involved. The refs that kind of jump in to make sure that the fight stops once the round ends, and that they're the best ones. Let the guys sort it out and that. But you got to kind of like cut it down the line in that as well. Both guys are taking the piss.
Both guys are taking the piss. Josh Taylor, who knows where he's going to go. Lopez's career is back on the way up. You are listening to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, episode 527. Tszyu is a very good fighter, says Des. Taylor is a good kid, but does this just come down to levels? Possibly. I'm not sure, Des, to be honest. I just think it just wasn't there for Taylor. And the version that went in against Prograis would have given him a lot tougher of a fight and possibly won the fight. Andy's the only one with me at the moment. Hopefully the boys will jump on at some point. If not, we shall motor on through. Me and Andy are used to doing this in Punches from the Past, which you can go over to patreon.com/Boxing Asylum to listen to. If you wish, shout out to the chat. We'll give them a proper rundown shortly, or run them over with a big truck. Quick rundown of the undercard. I only saw Xander Zayas, unanimous decision over Ronald Cruz, dropped him in the first round, looked really good. After that, a little bit one-paced at times, not much variety. He looks like a decent prospect, though. He's only 20 years of age. Plenty of time to get that on track. He won the Miguel Cotto Award as well for Puerto Rican Day weekend. Bruce Carrington getting a win. Omar Rosario, Robson Conceição, and Polanco ended up in a headbutt, so it was a no contest. The big Polish heavyweight Kneiber defeated Olguin on points. Bit of a red flag there. Most decent people knock out that Olguin. And Henry LeBron with a 10-round win over Carlos Ramos. I only saw Xander Zayas off that one. What else were we going to ask? I was going to mention Callum Walsh as well, actually, in California. He got a 4th round KO win over Carson Jones, who's 43-16-3 now. There was a bit of headbutting going on there, and Callum Walsh managed to get rid of him. Good prospect under the Freddie Roach banner, originally from Cork. Definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll go over to Saturday night. Most of us are watching the Champions League final for best as we could, Andy. But you managed to flick over at one point to see Sonny Edwards against Andres Campo, 117, 111 across the board. Possibly fair scores. They were trying to control the narrative afterwards. I know Eddie was going on about making certain fights, hopefully. He gets that right, and he does make those fights indeed. But Sonny was sort of talking about giving up rounds as if he had handed them over to Campos. I thought Campos came and had a right good go. Couldn't punch, ultimately. But it was a good workout for Sonny Edwards. He was probably better than he thought. Talk about Rodriguez next. Jesse Rodriguez, as he said, he can make that fight. That's the kind of fight Sonny needs, I think, to step up to now, Andy, just to get the fires burning, really, rather than these kind of mandatory or voluntary defences.
He needs something in terms of a test. I felt, did I hear Eddie right? Did he mention about Sonny potentially either going up or down in weight? I was like, he's not fucking making 108, no chance.
Didn't hear that, to be honest. No,
no, I'm sure. I thought he maybe said that, but
correct me in the chat if you heard it. I don't know. I always think they're insufferable on DAZN. I can only listen to so much.
Well, I turned over at round 7 because I was watching Champions League final as well. So, and you kind of knew what was going to happen in the fight anyway. You knew Sonny was going to go 12 rounds, and obviously, he does what he does, and it's just one of those type of things and that as well. As it could become one of those title reigns unless he gets a big fight where it becomes stale and maybe gets an injury or he just takes an L possibly in that, just unexpectedly. But I don't see it off what's ranked with IBF. Jesse Rodriguez would be the ideal opponent, maybe a Martinez and that as well, potentially.
Well, the Martinez would be interesting, Andy, considering he's stylistically similar to Campos, and the boys are confirming in the chat there as well that he did indeed say he could go down in weight.
No chance. I mean, we'll put the jokes to the side, but I think everybody says that Sonny Edwards looks like a meth head when he's trying to make 112. What's it going to be like trying to make 108? He'll look like the piano man, wouldn't he?
He's got a wee dad comb over as well going on there.
Is he? But yeah, look, I mean, even coming down to 108, I mean, the only really kind of meaningful fight for him really is Ken Shiro. But either Rodriguez or Martinez would be ideal for me. Like, to be fair, I think it would probably bring the best out of him in that as well. As Probably wouldn't have it all his own way. He'll probably have moments he's got to deal with. Certainly in terms of Martinez and that, but I think he picks him off. He uses his legs well. Rodriguez fights a bit different than that as well. As I know he got a wee bit kind of shit for his last performance, but again, the guy set the bar pretty high for himself after these 2 wins against Quadras and who was it, Estrada, I think it was. It was Estrada, wasn't it?
Who was that? Sorry, Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, aye. Who's his 2 wins? No, sorry, Rungvisai. Sorry, Rungvisai.
Oh, yes, the Thai fella. Sorry.
Aye, Rungvisai and Quadras.
And Quadras was the other one, wasn't it? Is that what you said? Yes. Sorry.
Aye. So they kind of like top bar wins for him. So, yeah. So Edwards Rodriguez, ideal. There's nothing really as I want to see. I didn't want to see him at 108. It's just a stupid suggestion for Eddie, to be fair. And up at 108, you've got Estrada, you've got Gonzalez, if he's still going to be fighting. I think Nakatani's now the WBO champ. I think that's ESPN. Fernando Martinez, the IBF champ at 115. Or if you're going to go up to 150, I'd like maybe see the Koshi Tanaka fight in that as well. As that would he'd bring the heat, but ultimately I think Edwards would pick him apart.
Got a win as well recently. Tanaka, he's bounced back well, hasn't he? Since was it Ioka who beat him a few years ago?
Beat him pretty well too as well. And he's had a few hard wars over the years, so just don't know if he's over the hill now at this point as well. So I think if he is going to remain at 112, it's got to be unification next, because he can end up running the risk of being bored, shall we say, just becoming stale, as I mentioned. And if you become stale, sometimes you can put in lackluster performances, and if you get a dodgy judge, you just never know. You might end up getting a bad result against you one night. You just never know. So it's time maybe to step up. Not so much in class, you know what I mean? It's just time to step up to the next level in terms of champs, I suppose, unification fights, if Eddie can get them made. But he's got 2 of them in his stable there, so it should be pretty much easily made.
As for the undercard, I must admit, I didn't see Johnny Fisher. I didn't see Siobhan Clark, which was the only one that was of any interest to me. Reece Bellotti getting a win coming back there against Yusuf Kamari.
He was good, by the way. I seen bits of that fight. He was excellent.
Was he? Yeah.
Aye, Bellotti. Aye, he was really good, mate. He fought like it was his last chance, mate. It was a British title eliminator. Kumari just couldn't punch him, man. He just couldn't do anything with him. Bellotti was in the pocket with him, and he was outworking him. So I was really surprised at his performance, to be fair, in that, because I thought he was one as well who was possibly on the road out. But he's come back well there. I thought he fought pretty well there, actually. So fair play to him. Yeah,
he was inactive for 14 months was Bellotti, but he fairly came back. I watched a couple of rounds in between. I think it was at half time. That's Shanika Johnson against Ellie Scotney, and I know Matty isn't going to be pleased with these kind of comments, but I just thought that it's just like watching two. They look like they were punching underwater, the two of them. I mean, it's not really world level fair, is it? Like, that's a bad thing to say for the wee women. Fair play to them, like, but gosh,
never seen it, mate. I was watching the game at the time. What did I see on the card anyway? Just out of curiosity. I seen Bellotti, and I seen the last few rounds of Sonny Edwards. Siobhan Clark, didn't see him. Don't know how he got on, but. What else is there? Johnny Fisher, the Bosch Army. That was dodgy. I only seen that on Twitter, actually. What landed there, lads? No, Steve,
not too much, apparently.
I know. Looks like I kind of like shot, maybe cuffed the side of the head, possibly, but didn't look like there was nothing that was going to put him down for the count. So Fisher's another one, by the way. What is he, like 9-0, 10-0 now? When's he going to step up in class now?
I don't think he is he? Why would they stick him up in class if he's selling a load of tickets, knocking over bin men? He's got Big John at ringside. I suppose they just milk it, won't they?
Well, this is what I'm saying. You got Eddie mentioned like for Campbell Hatton, and he's not a ticket seller. He's no anything great to watch. So why is Eddie sticking with him? He's going to fuck him off at some point. But Fisher, he'll be happy to feed him this shit because he shifts, a trainload of tickets. By the way, when you see them get off the train, the Bosch Army, oh, Jesus Christ, and they go in. And then they leave before the main event. That arena sounded absolutely desolate last night during that main event. Don't know how many were in the place. Like Wembley Arena was kind of like half curtained off, to be fair, on that as well. So don't know how many were in it, but certainly didn't seem very much after the Bosch Army had left anyway. But again, I just want to see him step up in class and see what he's got, because he's at that point in his career now where he should be possibly fighting for area titles. It'd be ideal for him, but he's fighting this fucking trash. What was it, Chile or Argentina? Puerto Rico, sorry. And then you got that Damiani, you had that guy for Czech Republic, you had some fucking bum for Spain. It's just want to see. I think area level fights would be far better for him than this trash. To be fair.
Thing is, though, sometimes promoters do that. I know we mentioned him on on the pod in the past, but like Roman Greenberg, that Israeli heavyweight that was around, like he fought for 7 years and he ended up 27-1 with 18 KOs, and he never fought anybody. They took him around all the Hobson undercards. He was Fight Academy. He was on the BBC. He was Poland, and then eventually he fought Cedric Boswell in 2008, the first ever step up. Got knocked out in 2 rounds and then retired. So there is a market for this. Just keep on plodding them out.
Oh God, aye, no, but then you start to kind of laugh when it fucking does 40 shit and that. But I just think honestly, if in terms of like the fact that the paying public, the fans going to these things, you would rather see Fisher fight surely a local rival or some sort for the Southern area title. Or for like whatever it is, an English title, something fucking far better than some fucking this trash that they're bringing in for Puerto Rico. It's probably costing them more to fly them over here for Puerto Rico than it would be to put on a title fight.
I don't know why they do. I don't know why they do that. Bring over the Argentines and stuff for like a round and 2 rounds, because like you said, surely it'd be cost too much in airfare, wouldn't it?
Airfare, hotels,
visas, sometimes
medicals, all that shit. At least if you've got the guy in the country, it'd be ideal. But it doesn't make any sense.
They need to create some kind of heavyweight base on like the Isle of Wight or something that they couldn't.
The Isle of Relevancy, irrelevancy, if you should say in this fucking instance.
Oh dear. Talking of domestic heavyweights, the night before Friday the 9th of June, I'm going to confess I completely forgot about this card until Andy mentioned it to me off air. I didn't even watch it at all. David Adelaide with a 5th round retirement win over Emir Amatovic. Mark Chamberlain, he's a tall lightweight, I think he is actually, or something, or welterweight. He's doing pretty well down there. Knocked out Marvin Demolari, Henry Turner as well. Got a knockout win over Tom Fowler, starting to scrape up the losses now. Joshua Frankham, Royston Barney Smith, Henry Turner. Yeah, there's some decent prospects. But how did it play out overall in BT?
I've only seen the 2 main fights, mate, to be fair. Mark Chamberlain against that Italian guy. I seen a clip of that Italian training in the dressing room, practicing the left hook, and he was sending it by fucking standard delivery post. It was bad. And they're all saying on the commentary, this Del Malari, he could be a tough fodder for Chamberlain. Could be a right dark horse here. And I'm like, really? And he's come out and he's dropped, but he got dropped bad the first time. Should have been stopped, really, to be fair. Bob Williams a bit suspect again. He dropped the second time, and then the towel came in after he got up. Because I think he was going to get loud. Frank's losing his shit. Frank's just came out of surgery and that a few weeks ago, and he's back at ringside, and he's losing his fucking mind at the referee, calling for the fight to be stopped. So Chamberlain done the business, obviously, and that, but that Italian was fucking awful, mate. Absolutely awful. Offered nothing. David Adelaide, again, he's just a bit like the Fisher at this point in that, as well as
struggling to shake off that Sokolowski fight, I think, isn't he? A lot of people thought he lost because he has decent skills and decent tools, and he is doing an okay job. But I think that kind of just hanging over his head like a sword at the moment until he gets the rematch, maybe.
I'm sure the guy retired actually, but one thing I did notice about Adelaide was his jab. His jab was pretty good. It was pretty solid. So if you can improve on that, strong jab and then get the right hand working behind it, then he might make something about it. But he's fighting these WBO European titles and that, so he's clearly just bagging up the ranking and points to get himself into contention at some point for whenever the call comes, because I suspect these heavyweight titles are going to be getting splintered in the next coming months, not possibly by the end of the year, and he might just find himself by luck if in contention for a title shot at some point in the next 18 months, possibly if the politics come into play yet. So but it wasn't great, to be fair, mate. And then, to be honest, the opponent was nothing spectacular. Some Serbian based out of Germany, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think Hergovic had his way with him over 3 rounds and that as well. So guy's nothing, and then obviously we've all complained about Hergovic's level opponents these days and that, so nothing really great to write home about. And we mentioned it last week in that as well, as out of the 2-3 domestic cards I think we had this weekend in the UK, you couldn't have taken any of those fights out of those 3 cards and made one decent card there to put on TV. There was not one solid enough. We knew what Edwards was going to do. If you had the Chamberlain as was chief, I'm sure it was chief support, I think, on BT, awful. The opponent was just shit. The Edwards fight you kind of knew, and then obviously you had the women's title fight and Johnny Fisher. That's not enough, really, was it? It's no great.
Thomas Newman there saying, Warren saying Adelaide opponent gave Hrgovic a tough fight. Did he fuck? I love it when they attach the sort of credibility to these fighters. They'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so he's been in with this guy and that guy and the other guy. And you look down the box rec and he got knocked out in a round by them all. You know, you could literally put me in against those fellas and say, I've been in against such and such. So
I think Hrgovic possibly put him down like 3 or 4 times during that fight. I don't think he can get Adelaide dropped on once.
Oh dear. Well, if Adelaide improves enough, he could become this generation's Scott Belshaw if he's lucky. So good luck to him. Friday evening, the 9th of June, later on in the evening, over in the Hall of Fame weekend. Showed it to Tim Bradley, actually. I've been critical of Tim in the past, and he kind of confirmed that this whole ESPN thing he puts on is a bit of an act, Andy. He came on Showtime and talked to Al Bernstein, and I thought he was excellent. He was talking about his career very briefly, only for 2 or 3 minutes, about his dad, about some of his early fights, about his talent. Touched upon the Pacquiao fight. Really concise, well-rounded interview with Al Bernstein. None of the hyperbole, none of the big boy pants bollocks, which says even more that he's trying to put on this caricature for ESPN. That's the type of Bradley that I want to be seeing. And Frotch spoke well as well, and they had a few, I think, did they have Zab Judah or...
What card was that, mate?
The Showbox card, because it was Hall of Fame weekend on the Friday night. Yeah, they had a card on from New York. It was the Ali Ismailov against Charles Foster card, and they had Frotch on in between. Al Bernstein was interviewing all the Hall of Famers, Tim Ryan as well, who used to do the old Showtime cards. And they had Tim Bradley, and I can't remember the other person was they were interviewing. Oh, yeah, Rafael Marquez for an interpreter. He's got inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. And
Did Timmy get inducted as well, eh?
Yeah, he got inducted. I wouldn't necessarily put Rafael Marquez in myself under the strictest criteria, but he got inducted as well this time, yeah.
Tim Bradley got inducted this weekend as well, eh?
Yeah, he did. That's what I was saying. He spoke very well on Showbox, actually, when he wasn't trying to be a character.
I mean, I've heard Timmy getting the interview before, like, say, no on ESPN or just like on the YouTube channels. He always comes across as knowledgeable and, you know, good talker, that type of thing and that as well. You often wonder then, you know, if did they get asked to play it up, you know, play a character, you know, online?
I think it was after he talked up with Teddy Atlas. I think he saw that kind of worked for Atlas.
You're a fireman!
Yeah, I think so. And he comes up with all these weird analogies and metaphors and stuff. I think so. I don't hate him for it, but I just think that it showed on Friday night that when he sits back, takes a breath and stops trying to be a character and play this role, he's actually a really, you know, insightful, well-spoken analyst.
I remember listening to the lads when they still did Tale of the Tape podcast. And he would be unsufferable, especially during like the COVID era. And Tim Bradley, and they would say is, you know, there was one time in the fight, like the camera was like right on Bradley's head, and it was like taking up the entire screen because he's got a big, massive boulder head. You see, the best thing he could have done that entire night was actually lean forward and pull the fucking plug out, switch your whole thing off. But I can remember Bradley going off in a big rant. You can see him like looking at Andre Ward. Am I good to go here, bro? Am I good to go? And Ward's looking at him like, you're on your own here, bro. You know, just carry on. But yeah, I suppose, mate. It would just be interesting if he gets asked if he's like going to play it up, and you get Ward on the other end playing his side of it, and that's where he tries to kind of play the kind of down to earth.
The straight man and the comedy man, yeah, quite possibly.
You know, straight laced, you know, straight cut type of thing and that. But no, I downloaded the SOG documentary as well. Actually, I've not watched it yet. But
no, I haven't watched it.
I got to gear myself up actually to kind of like watch Andre Ward on the back, you know. So I'll need to gear myself up for that one.
No, I agree, Michael, in the chat. He does have a personality, but I just think sometimes he just goes too far trying to be like a character. And if he just takes a step back, I actually enjoy listening to him more. But that's just a personal preference. Other people might think differently. As for the card itself and Showbox, Ali Ismailov got a 10-round unanimous decision win over Charles Foster. I think Charles Foster is Oshaki Foster's brother. He's, I'll tell you what, they said this was the next generation. The main eventers had a combined age of 63, so I'm not really sure what generation they're going to be heeding. But yeah, Ismailov trained with John David Jackson. Jackson said he's a massive puncher. He knocked down Foster in the 5th round. I thought he was a bit laboured otherwise, quite straightforward, no special effects, as Rob would say. And I thought Foster maybe did enough to get the decision there, but the judges thought otherwise. Juan Carrillo was a Colombian, 11-0 now with 8 knockouts, really decent hairline, old Carrillo. A bit of a puncher, a bit of a podgy belly, started to tire as the fight went on. They said he had a 450 amateur fight, so he's quite the experienced campaigner. He had a 10-round decision win over Richard Van Sicklen, who is now beaten for the first time, 29-year-old from Seattle. All 6 fighters in the 3 main fights on Showbox were all undefeated going in. Christy Martin did a lot of the promoting and matchmaking. Clay Waterman on the undercard, 10-0 with 8 knockouts from Australia. His nickname is The Weapon, which is quite an interesting nickname. He went in against Kenmon Evans, who is 8-0, spent a lot of time in prison, came out, got taken on by Christy Martin, had a really nice jab, very tall, but he faded badly as the fight went on, lost a decision to Clay Waterman, who I don't really think's going anywhere. He was a decent amateur, fought in the World Championships, actually, I think. But decent card all around from Showbox there. So Matty Di Gialanardo, kind of fair, really. Right, before we go on to the next card, let's have a look through the chat and see who's hanging around. Mark Stanton's in there, so is Jim McDonald Boxing. Michael Thompson's with us as well. Chris Butler. Captain Casual, that's Damo. Shout out to him. We're going to get to that card, don't we? Who else have we got here? Let's have a look. Just scrolling on up. We've got Johnny, Horsecock Nelson. We've got Des, as always. He's floating about. Thomas Newman is with us. M. Lithgow 1983. MB. Rosie Mason. Shout out to her. David Mustard is with us as well. Big A. Can't remember if I mentioned him already. Scrolling up, Jay Rich, shout out to him. First time I've seen that name in the chat. Might be the last time as well. Maybe he's had enough of us already. Let's have a look. Couple more before we close out for the evening. Take Ames was there. I haven't seen Chukwu yet. Great performance from him last weekend. Yimmy Yappy as well. Shout out to Yimmy. That'll do for now. Let's get on to the Mungia card then. The fight of the weekend for me against Sergei Derevyanchenko. 114, 113 times 2 and a 115, 112 from the ageless Lou Moret. WBC Silver Super Middleweight title on the line. I think that knockdown very much cost Derevyanchenko in the last round. I don't know how he got up from it. It was an absolutely cracking body shot. Plus points for Mungia. He's exciting.
He can take a shot.
He can take a shot. He takes a lot of shots. I don't know what he's going to be speaking through or sucking his dinner through a straw by the time he gets to 50. I tell you what, he brings the crowds out. They absolutely love him there. It sounds like a brilliant atmosphere wherever he fights. He is excited. He can definitely punch a bit. Derevyanchenko can feel hard done to. I think that last knockdown just absolutely cost him. Mungia is skirting around on the outskirts of the World Championships at the moment. And I think there's a reason, because anybody half decent would level him out. But what he does well, brings excitement, takes a lot of shots. And it's good to watch, Andy, even though it's maybe not the sweet science. It's exciting, fair to watch.
Mate, I was punching that fight last night with that guy's energy. I'm thinking this isn't the sweet. This is mere. Do
you feel punchy by the end of the 12 rounds?
Oh, mate, my God! I mean, they said one thing I want to pick up on as well. They said in the broadcast that Mungia's team had actually went to Derevyanchenko's team wanting to change it from 12 to 10 rounds. Which on hindsight, now actually Derevyanchenko actually rejected it apparently. But if that's true, he should have just went with the 10 rounds, because he would have won the fucking fight possibly if it hadn't been for that last round. What a fight, mate. I mean, so much happened in that fight. I can't even recall all of it. It was just absolutely insane. Firstly, I think we can say that Mungia, and again, the fight's up at 168. When the MC was reading out the names that before the fight, and they mentioned the title on the line, I says, super middleweight. When did they move up there? And I went away and checked his box rank. This is his first fight at 68. Can't believe that either. He didn't stay at 60 for too long. As we mentioned before, he runs due at 54, so it's catching up with him. But I think his level got a wee bit exposed there last night. That was probably the worst version of Derevyanchenko, with in terms of like age and activity levels, that type of thing. And he got pretty tuned up, to be fair. I thought Derevyanchenko won the fight just by a few. That last round just really kind of killed it, I think, in that. You then you kind of take it out of your own hands and putting it into the judge's hands again in that. I think he was tuning him up. He was getting him in close with the right hand when he was showing 3-4 punches. He was catching Mungia with every shot that he was practically throwing. Going forward, I think Janabek, Alan Canuli and Charlo would absolutely clean Mungia out. I really do think that, but it would be a tough fight for everybody. Those two are definitely punchers. I still want to see them in some more big fights, at least. Who doesn't want to see him in big fights if that's the kind of performance he's going to put in there? But I'd like to see a rematch. I think Derevyanchenko at least clearly won 7 rounds of that fight. Clearly. Backing him up constantly, really tuning him up. again, that 12th round was massive for Mungia just to kind of like turn the tide a wee bit.
It was, wasn't it?
It was, and he really did think he was going to get the stoppage at one point, and he gutted it out Derevyanchenko. Fair play to him as well. But
Derevyanchenko, the body type never seems to change. He keeps moving up in weight, and he always looks the same.
I know.
He end up a cruiserweight eventually.
Again, both guys showed great heart, great chin, but there's zero improvement. At least I think anyway. What I've seen from Mungia, and he's just not good enough. I don't think to hang with the better guys. His defense.
Do you know
really...
Sorry, Andy, to interrupt you. Do you know who Derevyanchenko reminds me of a bit? He's a bit like a Yaki Lopez. Do you remember him from the Conte Mohammed era? He gives everyone an absolute stinger of a fight, but he can just never seem to get over the line for whatever reason.
The Oscar Bonavina of super middleweight, basically. Hard bastard, good puncher. Again, mate, he must be thinking to himself, what the fuck have I got to do? I wouldn't say, I'm not going to go down the robbery lines. I think he won the fight, but I just think that 12th round, you're 10-8, you're just running the risk, really. Kind of like, you know what I'm saying? I just think, based off it, okay, he won the fight, but Mungia, who got the decision, his defence is rotten. So the amount of shots he was taking was incredible. There's only so long you're going to be able to take those shots. He's zero head movement, mate, either. He holds his feet too long. The head movement and the body movement just doesn't exist whatsoever, I don't think. Doesn't seem to have a proper jab. He's got zero chance against the likes of Benavidez. We need to see Charlo again, but you see how he is after the long layoff and the mental health issues, that type of thing. But I still think he's got no chance against Charlo. Who's got, as I say, he's got a great jab in that as well.
And with that right hand coming over the top all the time, Charlo would hurt him, I think.
Obviously we're mentioning Derevyanchenko running for dear life in round 12. I just think he's got to feel it himself. What have I got to do? I gave Golovkin a hard push, didn't get a decision. Okay, fair enough. He gives Danny Jacobs a hard fight, pushes him all the way, doesn't get a decision. You think he's winning this fight, pushes him all the way, he's beating the fucking shit out of him, and he still doesn't get the decision. So I think Manx is maybe kind of going a wee bit over the top there last night, possibly, but guys with better skills. And we saw with Derevyanchenko, he's maybe not the most skilled fighter, but he showed when he put his punches together and that, what he could do to Mungia. Someone better skilled than Derevyanchenko would absolutely light Mungia up like a Christmas tree. So it's mark time, shall we say, for Mungia. But it was a hell of a fight, mate. That round 5 alone, for me, is round of the year so far. Great fight, great action,
wasn't it?
Oh, it was tremendous, man. I think Derevyanchenko caught Mungia with a massive left hook, and how the fuck he stood in his
He showed some balls, I tell you what, and he had a lot of time to try and get through that round as well. I thought he showed a lot of guts.
But that left hook landed right on his hourglass, mate. The spray was everywhere, and he ate it. Okay, he was backing up, stayed in the fight, fair play, gutted it out, great chin, great heart and that, but you can't keep putting up performances like that, mate, and expecting it to last forever. The chin will only hold up so far, and once he goes up to the bigger dudes, the bigger hitters, it's going to be curtains like. But it should be fun along the way, shall we say? Because one thing about me, you can't knock him for this at least. That he's been active. He was an active champion at 54. Okay, he wasn't a great reign, but at least he was active, and he still seems to be kind of active, going up through the last few fights and that as well. So.
He ticks boxes. He's active in the ring. He turns up. He's always exciting. The level of opposition is not great. As I said, the crowd brings a real energy. And I know that's some people might say, oh, I don't give a shit about that. But just listening at home, it kind of brings you into the fight. Like the crowd really do sound class. So he definitely ticks boxes. These are things we want to see. He just needs to fight somebody half decent now. Well, I mean, Derevyanchenko obviously is half decent, but I don't think there'd be in any rush to put him in against anyone.
He'd seen better days at that point, mate, to be fair, Derevyanchenko, and he'd obviously had the wee layoff and that as well. And just the fact is that Mungia's coming up to 60 to 68 in rapid succession. I think how many fights has he had at 60? Like 1, 2, possibly. Maybe in the last 6 months. Now he's up at 68. Maybe this is him now fully grown out now. Is he 25, 26?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Kilrain Kelly one was over the weight, so 6 really.
54?
At 60, sorry.
At 60, sorry, right.
Yeah.
So then that's been over, what, a year, 2 years?
From 20, early 20 against Spike O'Sullivan, so yeah, a couple of years, yeah.
So you got the COVID era and that as well. So maybe it's delayed him a wee bit, but he has been semi-active. And that. I just find that maybe he's just got to that point now. He's just fully grown out as a man now. That's him now.
The Liam Smith win has aged quite well, I think.
Who?
The win over Liam Smith has aged quite well.
Well, aye, and obviously as well as you talk about that. I mean, what does the Campos win over Lopez now do for him after last night's performance as well? All
For
gives it different ways.
Campos?
Aye.
Not very much, because I don't think he's ever going to be able to capitalise on it again. I think everything
True,
just
but
came together that night for him.
it probably puts it up a wee notch as well,
Yes.
considering how good Lopez looked. That you say, well, maybe enhances his win a wee bit as well.
Got him 2 big paydays against Aleem, and the second one was
Yep.
criminal that we had to sit through that again.
I know, set him up for life, and that now he's got to go and battle lawsuits as a result of it. So, poor bastard.
Aye, absolutely. A couple of things. If you fancy any written content, I've got a Substack going on, swboxing.substack.com, swboxing.substack.com. Every Friday morning, we drop a little article. This week will be the Lopez Taylor fallout. Last week, we spoke a bit about Jack Johnson, actually. And talking of next week, Johnny says, are the rumours true that Chukwu is guest hosting next week? Well, not quite. In fact, there is no show next week. Unfortunately, I'm away, Matty's away, and there's a few things going on, so we're not able to put anything for you. It's not very often we would take a week off during the year. In fact, it's absolutely unheard of most of the time, but we're not able to get anybody in next week from the panel, unfortunately. So no show next week. We might do a midweek madness at some point after the 20th, 21st, 22nd, something like that, to catch up on the, maybe do an hour or something just to see Tszyu or whatever else is going on next week. We may or may not do that, but either way, we'll be back the following week for episode 528 on the 18th, 25th, I think it'll be by then. So no show next week, so don't be tweeting me because I don't use Twitter anymore or asking me about whatnot. We seem to have a question come in here somewhere. Is this the one you're referring to, Andy? Would you pick Mungia to beat Triple G? Do you remember a while back they tried to... It was a bit of clout chasing, really. I don't think they ever had any intention of making that fight. They just wanted to hook the name onto Triple G. And I'll tell you what, it actually worked because we're still mentioning it today, 5 years later.
But the sanctioning body no refused to sanction it.
Yeah, the Nevada State Athletic Commission would not sanction him. And I think they knew that. But they pushed for the fight anyway, knowing there was no chance of it happening. And like I said, 5 years later, we're still discussing that fight. So I think the bit of clout chasing, the bit of hooking him onto Triple G's name was a good move by Mungia's team.
Yeah, and here we are, 5 years later, and it's Take Ames is asking the question, would you pick him now to beat Triple G, considering how we've seen Triple G fight the last couple of fights? Murata and Canelo. So, I don't know, really. Who do you fancy at this point?
I don't know. It depends. Triple G semi-retired for me, really, and he looked really listless against Canelo, although Canelo didn't look any great shakes either. Apart from his jab, he looked a bit gun-shy, like he can't let the right hand go, but you'd fancy his power to still be the equaliser, but Mungia's showing a decent beard. He can work pretty hard. I say it'd be a pretty tight fight, but I'd probably still go with Triple G, to be honest.
Yeah, I probably need to say the same. You just think that Triple G could still maybe pull the trigger on one big shot.
Fight. I don't think Triple G will fight again, to be honest. It's got any sense he just jack it in now.
Yeah. I suppose the main question is, well, could Triple G actually stop him? Because considering how Mungia's been taking these shots and that...
Don't think so.
No?
No, I don't know. I think the way he rode out the storm against Derevyanchenko so it shows he's made of sterner stuff. And this isn't the Triple G who was battering through the likes of Rubio and Dominic Wade. So I think given all those factors, I think Mungia might be able to get through.
Yes, there you go. I think Triple G still has enough, but again, it's just one of the fights, not my. It's one of the nothing fights really at this point, isn't it? It's just because Golovkin's. We say that after the Murata fight, he just does not the same fighter. Just looks like he looks bloated, looks old. Just isn't the fighter anymore. So yeah, I agree. He should probably just jack it in there as well, retire.
I think so. And Michael Thompson, in relation to no show next week, says need a Nutters call in instead. Well, actually, I did approach Danny Young, new head of the Nutters call in, and he was well up for doing that, but he's actually on holiday as well next weekend. So we have tried to exhaust every avenue that we can, Andy.
We have, mate. We have. Even I couldn't step into the hot seat and that because I'll just be here myself. So Aussie's away playing cricket, I think, and
he's cricketing.
Aye, so I don't know what Rob's doing these days. Actually, he just turns up when he feels like it.
Aye, we'll get there eventually. Following week we'll be back, or maybe for midweek madness, we'll do our best to get through for you. On the Mungia undercard, Ricardo Sandoval, pretty tight fight. Tell you what, I'll give Golden Boy the shout out, man. I don't know who half of these undercard fighters are, sort of at 115 and below, but the matchmaker, I know they got rid of Roberto Diaz, but they seem to be matching. They always match them really, really well. Sandoval again against this Rocco Santamoro, who's 22-2 now. from California. Really gave it a good effort and pushed the fight very close, apart from on Lou Moret's scorecard, but he needs to be put out to pasture. Shane Mosley Jr. again, a 7th round knockout over Demetrius Ballard as well. And I didn't see any of the rest of it. Did you manage to catch any of that undercard, Andy, or did you give it a skip?
I gave it a skip, mate. I just didn't have the time of day, but I have seen that Sandoval fight before. Obviously, fought Jay Harris in the UK, dominated him, beat him up, basically broke him in half with body shots. Got outboxed slightly. It was a kind of competitive fight against Jimenez, so he was obviously back on the spin here. But he's a decent enough fighter, mate. He's a decent enough body puncher, decent power. I suppose considering. If you just get the right, again, another one just needs the circumstances to be right from politically, and he would probably pick up a title. But you've got the likes of Rodriguez and Edwards and Martinez as like the 3 main champions. I don't really factor in Dalakan because he's not active enough. So I think he would lose to all 3 of those guys, but I think he would give a war against Martinez, I would think. I think Rodriguez and Edwards would pick him apart possibly. But it would be interesting fights nonetheless, actually, because as I say, Sandoval does bring that power. Shane Mosley, to be fair, I haven't really kind of caught on to his career much, to be fair, mate. I haven't really watched him since maybe the early part of his career and that, so I don't know how he's looking these days. I know he got a majority decision loss against Quigley, and I think he had a win over, was it the Gatekeeper, I think it was. So I've no idea how his performances were in those fights and what his end game is, if he's going to get a title fight of some sort.
I think he will, He's decent enough fighter at a certain level, and Golden Boy have stuck with him. I mean, he's never going to be his dad, but I mean, his dad was an exceptional fighter, so there's no sort of knock on that. But I know he's sort of delved into the world of BKB in the past, and he got caught for the PEDs as well, so he's followed in the old man's footsteps, and he's been a pro for nearly 10 years now. Tell you what, man, time just flies, doesn't it?
Fucking old, mate. I'm telling you right now. I mean, I was looking at some things yesterday, actually. I was like, fucking hell, that's that long ago.
He's been a pro for nearly 10 years. I remember watching his dad when he'd had about 15 fights.
I can remember his dad getting he's got a strong chin, and then he almost gets dropped off Fernand Forrest in the first minute of the first round.
Even before, I remember his lightweight game when he was fighting the likes of Shannon and Adrian Stone, man, in 2000.
Was it Raul Marquez and that as well? Possibly have been. Oh Christ, man, we are all getting thinking about those fights. But I just see Shane Mosley. He's ranked 10th with the BA and that, so and 13th for the BC. So still got a wee bit to do, I would imagine, if he's going to get a title fight. And none of the champs up there belong with Golden Boy as well. So gonna be a wee while before I think he gets into title contention, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Michael Thompson's getting ready to invade Stamina for sale next week. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get a punches from the past from the archive that nobody's heard apart from the Patrons, and I'll put that up at 8 o'clock next Sunday evening. I might even put up 2 if I'm feeling generous and I've got enough time. So I can't say fairer than that, Andy. I'll schedule a couple of punches from the past from 8 o'clock next Sunday evening.
Pay-per-view, mate. Pay-per-view.
We'll give them a little taster of what it's like for me and you sitting talking between ourselves like right now.
It's no everybody can do this, mate. Sit and talk amongst themselves for fucking an hour and 10 minutes,
Luckily, we're primed in talking shite. Talking of shite, AB got a win on Friday evening on this Don King card against Bill Hutchinson. Hutchinson, to be fair, he took his licks. There were some people in the crowd who were really enjoying the fight, and you could tell that there was an old guy, and I was watching him, and he had like sort of grey shock hair, and he was in awe of Adrien Broner. You could tell he was the kind of person who loves boxing, maybe remembers the Hagler Hearns era, and he's watching this thinking, oh, this Adrien Broner, he's a hell of a fighter. He's like a Floyd Mayweather kind of fighter who's like completely off with the whole climate of boxing. But Bill Hutchinson fought his heart out. I watched the first round, and AB was putting it on him, smashing him around. And I thought to myself, flip me, AB's going to get rid of him here. I might as well just watch this. And all of a sudden, we got to round 8, and I thought, what am I doing with my life? It's Saturday morning, early on Saturday morning. And AB is in round 8 against this Hutchinson. And then, alas, he went the full distance. I think he lost a round on a couple of the cards. Didn't even look like AB. He's had a bit of Botox or something. He didn't look like him in the face, maybe. I suppose all the pussy and the cocaine and the drinking beers catches up on you eventually. Did you see this absolutely horrific spectacle, Andy?
Mate, I was the same as you. I watched the first round, and it was probably the most active I've seen AB in about the last 5 years, man. And the amount of punches they put together, mate, it's like, what's he doing here? And then it just sort of kind of dies on its arse. And after about 5 rounds, I switched it off. It was just shit, mate. No fault in it over 30 months or something, whatever it was, but it was just horrible. mean, the guy was handpicked for him, wasn't it? You know, it wasn't even a legit opponent. Didn't have any power. Hasn't really got a career. Well, he's got a career outside the boxing, obviously. But fuck me, man. You know, you'd be absolutely daft. I was going to say stupid, but I'm going to say that you'd be absolutely fucking daft to sit and watch that entire fight from start to finish, man. Fuck me. If you've seen AB fight before, man, then you just imagine the absolute wash version you can find, and this is what you've got. What the fuck was that? And then he's getting all his pish at the end of the fight. Anybody can get it, you know what I'm saying? And
got that for Value of the Week, yeah.
Which we'll leave this now and then, but you know, when you're able to shock Ray Mancini and leave him speechless and that, then you know there's something fucking far wrong. Hopefully he gets paid actually. Because Don King can be a wee bit kind of late with the checks, possibly. You know, what happened to Daniel Dubois having to get his money. But I think Hutchinson maybe landed a few right hands, possibly as well. But you're right about what you said about him, mate. He looks old, the cocaine, the pussy. He looked like he was fucking 50-year-old. He had that beard at the weigh-in. It looked like it was grey, mate. He absolutely looked completely. You know, AB absolute bollocks. He just looks absolutely.
Look like Don King's dad.
Look like Don King's grandfather, actually. Fucking. So listen, he's nowhere near the top anyway. Obviously, not being anywhere near the top for anyway. What
was that all about? Did you see that at the beginning? Then women singing.
I don't know what AB is all about, man, but he's not going to be. The only thing he's going to be on top of anytime soon is going to be a sewer rat. That's the only thing he's going to be on top of. He's going to be on top of the boxing game. He's probably never going to be on top of the boxing game ever again. He's calling out names after the fight. Everybody apart from the actual champion's title that he called it, which is imagine what Prograis would date him, man, at this point in his career. AB's got a good beard in every sense, like, but a good chin. Fuck me, man. Even Prograis would test his, you know, his will to basically go the distance in that fight, I would imagine. But he's old, he's washed. But if we're going to keep him about, at least he can do the post-fight interviews. They can talk trash and that. But I suppose the other thing I can maybe say is a positive. Maybe there was less showboating for AB like he used to do back in the very early days.
He hasn't got the energy to showboat.
Exactly, mate. He's not got the moves these days. The legs have gone. Well, the legs have gone at him, so to speak. So, you know, just to think to people used to say back in the day that, you know, Broner used to be where Spence and Crawford are now. You know, at one point he was at the top of the sport, supposed to be anyway. He was the next coming to Floyd Mayweather. He was headlining shows. He was must-see TV, so to speak. Look at him now, man. Again, another one. We're talking about Josh Taylor. How over the course of 5 years, it's went for like the apex down the slide. Broner's went for fucking like it's like a heart monitor, going up and down, up and down, up and down, and then it's fucking gate crashed, man. It's just flatlined. That's what it's been like. That's his career these days. It's totally flatlined.
Thomas Newman says, Don King's checks, AB, always bouncing.
You ain't going to see a penny of that.
See the sugar babes. I have no idea who them women are, but that's just the most Don King ever thing at the beginning of the show.
Oh, man. I wonder if AB did, man, or would.
Oh, fuck's sake. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
He's enjoying life, his older Don King and AB as well. Just to close up the action from the weekend, on Friday evening, Ryan Farag lost a unanimous decision to Marcel Braithwaite in the Commonwealth Super Flyweight title. Dennis Hobson returning to the BBC for that one. Very close fight by all accounts. Conor Butler on the undercard getting a unanimous decision win for the Commonwealth Boxing Council Flyweight title and the EBU European Flyweight title as well. I didn't manage to catch that one, but next weekend, Uzbekistan's Paul Butler, by way of Liverpool's, going in against TBA in the Humo Arena, Tashkent, on Friday the 16th of June in Uzbekistan. Stephen Cairns as well is fighting against Michel Dufat. Great bunch of lads out there. Jan Marcos, I think, is he one of the Cubans? Yet, based in Dubai, is on that card as well. Not too interested in that one, Andy, but I am more interested in this Sky card. Also on Friday evening, actually. Dropping a bit of Friday evening action. Al Siesta, Ben Shalom on Sky. Aaron McKenna going against Shaquille Thompson. Caroline Dubois on this card as well. Vidal Riley. Fraser Clark going in against Marius Vac. Roman Fury. Isaac Chambers can get a run out. And the main event is Adam Azim. 8-0, 6 knockouts. The Assassin.
Off.
Oh.
I think Ozzy shouted at us earlier. The Azim fight's off. That card's completely collapsed, mate. But I think it's still going ahead. Give me a second. I'll tell you who's headlining
I had
that
no
card.
idea about that. He was supposed to be fighting Aram Fanian from Ukraine.
I think Azim's pulled out, mate. Give me a second here. I'll get you the details.
Yeah, according to MB, I had no idea about this yet. Adam Azim is out apparently, so there's absolutely nothing to write home about.
Aaron McKenna apparently is off it as well. Aaron McKenna and Shaq Thompson's off as well.
Oh, for goodness sake, that card's just falling apart then.
So it's completely just collapsed, mate. But apparently still going ahead. That was the last I heard, mate. So Azim's pulled out next Friday. The card's collapsed.
Sky don't tend to pull cards, do they? So I'd say they go ahead with that.
Well, they'll probably need to pull on somebody for somewhere, mate. Someone on late notice, because I've just pulled up the card here actually. If those, I mean, that's your two top. That's your two top main.
Fraser Clark, won't it? Headlining, and then they probably have Caroline Dubois.
They're going to have to up that, mate. They can't have an 8-rounder as a main event. Sure, they're going to have to up that to 10, possibly, but they not.
Yeah,
and Caroline Dubois is 8-2s. Possibly, maybe Isaac Chamberlain, who remember his fight got pulled off. Was it the Billum Smith card? So that's him getting re-slotted out. These guys are wanting to get paid, and if they're going to get pushed on the next card, that mate.
Yeah,
it's no good, is it? But
yeah, Michael Thompson said they don't have backup opponents. I'd say if Azim's opponent had pulled out, they would have done. But the fact Azim himself was pulled out, then Fanayan not turn up. So although the McKenna Thompson, you would have thought they might have had a backup opponent. I know.
I don't know what's happened to that fight, mate. Can anybody
says about Isaac Chamberlain. Sorry, Isaac Chamberlain needs a decent fight. I would have liked to have seen him in a better. Maybe he'll get pushed up higher in the card. If you had Chamberlain, Dubois, and then Clark, as you say, Clark, it'd be tough to headline with an 8-rounder. I don't know what they're going to do, but they'll not pull it. I can't see them pulling the card. To be honest, Sky never do that.
I just wonder, does anybody know why the Aaron McKenna fight's been pulled? Anybody in the chat can let us know? Because I got note of that just about a couple of hours ago, but I never actually followed up to find out what happened. But Fraser Clark whack fight has got to go up to 10-rounder. It has to.
Yeah, that's
because the card's littered with 8, 6, and 4 rounders. It's just isn't going to be enough. And unless Sky kind of like, I don't know if they would drop their duration possibly. I don't know if they're like they've got a set time frame they've got to work and they've got to do that 2 hours, so to speak. They just need to kind of churn the fights out. But I tell you what they should do actually. And this is maybe late notice now actually, but see what they're doing some of these Italian cards and the German cards and that. They actually have like on the undercard your amateur fights before the pro fights get started. So have a pro-am event. Maybe get.
You can't do that though, can you? Isn't there something to do with the licenses?
No, you can't do it in the UK.
Yeah, you can't do it in the UK. The British board won't let you because the BUI, the Irish board, do. Because I know I've been to quite a few shows like in Dublin or Limerick in the past, and they've had amateur stuff. First of all, a whole big amateur program, like you said, it fills it out really nicely, especially when the top Irish amateurs are involved. Like it's a really good standard, and then they would have the main event after, or even. They've had Katie Taylor mixed in before and Ray Moylett in the middle of pro cards, but as you say, the British Boxing Board don't let them mix.
It's different. I think it's different licenses, not doing, but it's. I think I'm right to say I don't know if I'm right in saying, but the amateurs can't. I'll leave that one aside anyway. But it's just it would be ideal, wouldn't it? Just to kind of flesh out the card for situations like that. You could pull in some high-rated amateurs, maybe have them fight a local rival, or that. Just thinking out loud, really, to kind of save the card, maybe beef it up a bit, because that's not going to. I mean, that's not moving the needle for it. I mean, I wouldn't even watch it if it was given to me free, but I'm not watching that card next week. You fucking kidding me?
No. Michael Thompson says Clark versus Dubois. Absolutely. Fraser Clark against Caroline Dubois, Andy. That would get the blood pumping.
But heavyweight against lightweight.
Against the female lightweight, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Fuck's sake.
I'm all about diversity these days and inclusivity, so absolutely we can get on board with that.
I mean, what you could do is, I mean, you see you've got Chamberlain and Roman Fury on the card, right? They're cruiserweights, so you could have the 2 fights as like a round robin and have the winners fight off each other, so to speak, in a kind of tournament fight. Maybe I don't know, area title fucking fight of some sort, you know. But
who knows? On to Saturday evening. Yeah, Captain Casual, Mick Hennessy, I think. McKenna's a Mick Hennessy fighter, so yeah, he's helping him out at the moment, keeping things going over there. Anyway, Saturday evening on DAZN, the Louisiana Boxing and Wrestling Commission, Eddie Hearn Matchroom Boxing in New Orleans, Regis Prograis going in for the vacant WBC World Super Lightweight title against Danielito Zoria, 29 years of age. His only loss was a couple of fights back to Arnold Barboza Jr., which is a bit of a red flag. You expect Prograis to be able to get the business done in this one, and possibly by stoppage. On the undercard, Shakram Giasov, 13-0, 9 knockouts, the Wonder Boy, based in Brooklyn, originally from Uzbekistan. Seen him in the past against the likes of Emmanuel Taylor, Patrick Moreno, decent fighter on the way up. He's in against Harold Calderon. I've never heard of him before. He's 35 from Florida. He looks about 15. He's 27-0 with 18 knockouts. Hasn't really fought anybody of any great note, but he has a really impressive record on paper. Ramla Ali's on the undercard as well. Virginia Fuchs and nobody else really. It's all about the main event, Andy. Regis Prograis. I don't want to overlook fights and give Zaria any disrespect, but the fact he lost on points to Barboza, who's a very good fighter, actually, a very solid fighter, Arnold Barboza, the fact he lost to him, and I would say Prograis is better than Barboza. You'd expect Prograis to get the job done, get in there, maybe stop him in about the 9th or 10th round, and move on to look for those unifications. No more pissing about from Prograis. No more signing contracts with about 55 different promoters. Get under Eddie, if that's what you're going to do. Win that title next week by knockout, and move on to the unifications.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually think he'll do it earlier, actually, with this Sorello guy. I had watched a part of some of his fights during the week, and he's got this awkward kind of gangly stance and that. He kind of like dips his knees a bit too much and that as well. Maybe kind of fight to the size of his opponent if they're too small for him. He has got very, very long arms, but I think he's wide open in the middle. And I think if he does seem, he's not overly aggressive, but he does come forward. I think that plays right into Prograis' hands, who is a very, very good boxer. He's got very heavy hands, and I expect him to do it early. It's a kind of fight that probably your typical Eddie fight when he signs a new fighter. He gets him on the card, and he gets him in my opponent as such a kind of such an easy fight. But you know what I mean? It's a looking good, you know,
in his favour kind of.
Aye, welcome at the show type thing, and that. I mean, I don't even think that. I need to go and check, but I don't even think that guy was even ranked, to be fair. So unless he's been ranked by a phone call in the last week or so, whatever not. Maybe the rankings are not up to date yet, but it's an interesting one. But yeah, I think Prograis does the guy and do it probably within 6 rounds and that, unless the guy springs a better performance than what we imagine that. But I haven't really been overly impressed with the guy. I don't think he throws the right hand very well, and he's got a decent enough jab, but he can follow you about the ring in straight lines, and his legs. How can I put it? Actually, he looks like he's got rickets. Do me a favour. Go and anybody listen to this, just go to YouTube and Google the fight that I was watching. Zarrillo against Julio Perez. It was on Golden Boy Promotions' YouTube channel. And look at his knees when he's fighting that guy. I think he's kind of come down to the guy. He's kind of like height, but he's got also he's got.
I watched that fight too. He's very much leans down, and I thought he looked very slow, and he leans over. Now that was early on in his career, so he might have improved since then. I think it was only a 6 or a 4.
Aye.
But I thought the way he threw the right hand, he really leaves himself in, and that'll be meat and drink to Prograis when he leaves over his front foot there the way he does. Prograis will just smash him with the left hand every time.
Definitely about cooking bent legs there about him, like I'm telling you.
Oh dear. Yeah, well. Good luck to them, boys. Giasov on the undercard, Andy. One of these Uzbeks is on the way up.
Don't know about him, to be fair, mate.
Who have I seen him fight before?
That was Perez, mate. I think he'd been washed with Manuel Taylor. I think Broner possibly fought him back in the day. But
he did. He had to a fight with Taylor, actually.
He gave.
Was that Broner's first fight back after he lost to Maidana? I think it might have been, you know.
It might have been, mate. It was one of those. It could have been. It could have been actually. But I'm just looking at this guy's record just now, and that, mate. Again, another one's not really picked it up. Remember, we were saying the Uzbeks have come in. They've kind of really, have they? They've kind of fallen away by the side. You know, as a good amateur as what he was, his pro career hasn't really kind of taken off. In the last couple of years, he's fought that Winston Campos. I remember Josh Taylor fought him back when Josh Taylor was coming up through the ranks and absolutely destroyed him in a few rounds. Dallas Perez smashed him in the round. Perez had seen better days. He was washed at the weight. I think Crawler smashed him up possibly.
Yeah, he did.
Twice. Once. It was a rematch. Sorry, he smashed him up and just hasn't really kind of pushed forward. And again, like you, I don't know anything about this Calderon guy as well. So looking at his record. Again, he's not really he's kind of feeding on the journeyman status fighters and that as well. So again, it could be one of these how it goes on the night. But I think Gazov probably wins on points. To be fair, mate. And I'm not basing it on anything, but both undefeated, and I think that Calderon record's basically scanning at the minute. It's pretty paddy, to be fair. Like
it is pretty padded stuff there, but that is the main action of the weekend. Although we are going down under, so to speak. Tszyu. Fresh from his win over Tony Harrison, which was in March, 9th round TKO win. Keep him busy, actually. I like to see this against a fighter like Carlos Ocampo. Not the greatest fighter in the world. He's definitely a puncher. He's been in there against good fighters, went the distance with Sebastian Fundora. think he went in against it wasn't Charlo. I think it was Errol Spence. Knocked him out. It might have been a first round. Was the body shot knockout a few years ago? But apart from that, he's been a pretty solid guy with a decent punch. Good win over Mikhail Zuski, who was a bit of a prospect at one point as well, fought Kavalauskas. So the fact that Tszyu's keeping active, but not against tin cans, he's fighting decent opposition like a Campo, is a good sign for me. What do you expect from Tszyu in this one, Andy? Maybe try and look to box beyond the jab, get the right hands in, see if he can get rid of a Campo late. WBO interim super welterweight title on the line. He's not hanging around waiting for Charlo. He's taken the opportunity to keep busy. We speak about inactivity in boxing at the moment, and Tszyu leading the way, really. I'm impressed by his attitude.
Yeah, and of course, he's had that incident the last couple of weeks as well. He had, I think he got attacked by a dog. And he got
bit by a dog, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Apparently, he needed surgery for some sort of laceration on his right forearm. So, I don't know if he'll be allowed to wear a wrap on it or anything like that, mate, to be fair, and if it's fully healed. But to be fair, I do expect him to look good. But again, you just don't know with that incident happening, if it's affected his preparation, fitness, that type of thing. No dogs want to make excuses for him or anything like that as well. But Ocampo, again, just one of those. I think that guy Spence done in one round as well. So
yeah.
I think Tszyu, providing there's no hand problems. Remember he had the issue after the Japanese guy, he was beating the shit out of and he hurt his hands and that. Hopefully there's no issues with him and he does the job early. We didn't want him getting injured. We want to see him fighting Charlo. Hopefully Charlo's, what his issues are, get cleared up soon as well and we get that fight made, because there is a lot to respect about a fighter who's willing to kind of no sit on his world ranking and wait for his time. We had slight complaints. Obviously, remember like Jack Cattrall, for example, he kind of sat on the WBO mandatory position for many a month, it felt like, and before he got his chance. So he wasn't really active as such as well. So Tszyu seems to be active, which is always a good sign. I just hope he does to pick up any major cuts or injuries, and that it maybe throws a spanner in the works for the Charlo fight. Which, have they even mentioned a potential date for it happening?
No, Charlo injured his hand. It'd be just like boxing, wouldn't it? That Tszyu would sort of get cut, and he'd be like almost punished for his activity. No. And then Charlo will come back, and the belts will get split. We never get that opportunity, that chance. I don't want to see that chance slipping away, because Tszyu's got the right attitude, and yeah, hopefully he doesn't get injured. But Charlo, as for him, he's shown that he's a tough enough bastard. He will fight people. He will, he has unified the division, but it was a busted hand or something the last time. So hopefully they'll just get that fight made, because they're both signed on the dotted line originally. And the fact he's took on Harrison and now Ocampo shows that he's definitely willing to fight decent fighters. So yeah, I'm hoping they can revisit that one, Andy.
Aye, I mean it's a tougher opponent. He could have obviously got something far easier for like his neck of the woods, Australia or New Zealand or whatever, and that, to be fair. But the guy he's fighting will be tough enough. He'll give him a few rounds, I'd imagine, just to kind of keep him active. But I think ultimately he'll wear him down. I think he'll probably stop him around about the 7th or 8th. Again, depending if everything's okay in terms of his preparation going into the fight as well.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to DJ Keaty, who's joined us in the chat since we last did the roll call. You're very welcome, sir. Good to see you in there. Jason Chukwu as well has joined us since the last time. Who else have we got? Any other new names? MB still there. Captain Casual, Johnny as well. On the undercard, I noticed there's a guy, Hassam Hamdan, 5-0 with 1 knockout. So I remember there was a Nader Hamdan back in the day, the Lionheart from Sydney. This guy's also from Sydney, so I don't know if it's his son or his brother or something. So a good luck to him. Decent little scrap as well in the support bout, Andy. I know you might not have looked at the roster, so I don't want to really catch this one, leap on you with this one, but it sounds good on paper. Sam Goodman, 14-0 with 7 knockouts. He's 24 years of age, and his last fight, which was on the Harrison, which was on the Harrison Tszyu undercard, so keeping very active, was a unanimous 10-man decision, best win of his career against TJ Dehaney. He's stepping up in a title eliminator, I think it is. It's over 12 rounds against Regis Aleem, the Beast. Mm-hmm. He's 32 years of age, 20-0, 12 knockouts, win over Mike Planier. Tough outing a few fights ago against Eduardo Baez. Before that, looked $1 million. I thought he really impressed me against Vic Pasillas. This is a really good, solid fight between 2 unbeaten contenders, putting it all on the line. Aleem going out there, Goodman in front of his home crowd, vying for a shot at a world title. Loving the attitude, again, very much indicative of Tszyu's attitude in the main event of these two boys putting it on. I think Aleem probably a bit more seasoned and experienced at this stage of the career, but Goodman clearly fancies it as well, so fair play to both the boys in this one.
Yeah, and Goodman obviously he's got that win over TJ Dehaney, which okay, people say it's a good win, but then he's got that win against Richie Marpranam, who I think he's been knocked out of Quadras.
The wee Filipino fella.
Aye, Strada beat him as well. So, okay, it's up in weights at this point in that as well, but still a decent enough wee name on his record. So yeah, it's an interesting one actually. Might even steal the card. You just never know. But yeah, I fancy Aleem possibly to win that. I'll say on points actually. He's a slick enough boxer. And Goodman, I've only seen a handful of footage of him, to be fair in that, but I would say Aleem possibly is going to be. He has to be right in here as the favourite.
Yeah, tough to get footage of Goodman. I was looking at it before the Dehaney fight. There's quite a few interviews with him, and there's a bit of amateur footage. But as for pro footage, it's like rocking horse shite, man. You can't really find too much of it.
So this is likely to be what, early morning for us, I would imagine, on Sunday.
I don't know. I've lost all track of time when it comes to Australia. I have no idea, because the thing was with the Campos Haney fight, it wasn't a true representation of the time, was it? Because they moved it for America, to fit in with America.
They moved it for American TV time.
Aye,
but this is apparently on Showtime as well. Like, of course, it'll be on Showtime because they're trying to showcase Tszyu, so they might try and do it for primetime American.
Might well do, yeah.
I've no idea what time that is in Oz, but I'd imagine it'll be early morning for them earlier, possibly. We'll wait and see. Anyway, we've got some Aussie listeners on here to let us know what time UK time that's due to start on Sunday.
Let us know. We'll get it at some point by certain means. Drizzy says Tszyu showed up. Drizzy showed up as well. Shout out to you. He says Taylor turned into a cook who wouldn't drop the counter left. I think he was afraid. Drizzy of the counter right from Lopez coming his way. Great job from Lopez in the main event. We'll get Rapping Roll Kelly's thoughts as and when he turns up. But in the meantime, it's 9:30 on this Sunday evening. Episode 527. Me and Andy are here. We've done our best so far, but we're going to keep things moving with the Bellew of the week. Starting with, as we mentioned earlier, AB was involved post-fight. Hopefully the old bastard himself, Don King, doesn't copyright us as he has in the past for this one. So I've done my best by putting a little thing over the top of it to try and keep us away from those copyright merchants. Maybe me mentioning it constantly isn't going to help matters. But anyway, AB was talking to Ray Mancini in the ring at the end of the fight. If you haven't heard this yet, for the Bellew of the week, it is quite the listen.
Was it everything you wanted and needed?
It wasn't everything Well, it was everything I wanted, but it wasn't everything I needed. Right now, I need some pussy.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Okay. All right, before we get to that, who do you want next in the ring?
TMI.
Hey, man, listen, man. This is my first time on Don King pay-per-view, so I got to give it to y'all. Anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans. No disrespect to no law firm out there, but attorney just got it. Anybody can get it.
Is there nobody special that you like that you're asking for or looking for? Anyone with the title?
Anybody with the title. I see. What's his name? Romelo. Retardo. What's his name? Roly. Oh, Roly. Shit. I like the winner of Teofimo and Josh Taylor and whoever else got the belt. I want all the belts. I don't just want a Louis belt or Gucci belt. I want the WBA belt and WBO belt, WBC belt and IBF belt too.
Don, what do you have in mind for our young man, Adrien Broner? What do you have in mind? What's next for him?
Well, right now, there's this guy named Oscar De La Hoya. He sent out a waiver, and he wants to meet with us. We're going to talk about it.
Nah, let him know. If he want to come over here, we got a fish net for him.
Okay, we got whatever he say. That's whatever he say, because we're the problem here, man. Hey, Oscar, you heard what he said. You know what I mean?
Come over here, get that fish net, and I'm going to kick whoever asked you put in the ring with me.
All righty.
Whenever King brought up Oscar at first, I thought he's probably too far gone, King, that he's probably talking about Oscar fighting Broner rather than one of his fights.
Oh, man, AB. I tell you, how bad's Ray Mancini getting over the top?
Ah, yeah, he hasn't sounded great for a while.
Christ, man. That's what Mungia is going to sound like in 10 years. Fucking AB, man. What a man. Hopefully he got what he wanted there last night. But it's not going to be the high class that he would deal with. But dealing with that gargoyle that he got caught with coming out of the Boston Garden that time, ended up in the hospital. Oh, yeah. Fucking AB, man.
Fuck's sake. He's enjoying life. He's getting a new lease of life. This young man, as Don King called him. You might as well have gone back 10 years there for that, AB. It could have been any interview. Just imagine Jim Gray on the other end of the mic. We're not talking like that tonight, Adrian. Show a bit of class.
He's calling out all the different acronyms as well, man. The one thing he never shouted out was IRS. Fucking, they'll be after him shortly as well. Sold alimony ponies there after the fucking money for that tribal Wednesday he's got.
Up the IRS. Johnny throwing in 79p there. Shout out to Johnny Horsecock Nelson. See if you can beat that, everybody. Come on, if you can beat that 79p that Johnny Horsecock Nelson's throwing in. Des said, I said it last week, anyone that can completely take apart Gavin Rees so quickly, like AB did, can really fight. That is the thing. For all of his faults, Andy, we know he's a hood rat. He's a terrible specimen human being. If he'd have kept his weight down, kept disciplined, I know it's ifs and buts and that, but he could fight. He could punch. Sean Porter said that at the end when he knocked him down. He just was never active enough, but he could put his shots together at his prime. And he was a decent fighter. I suppose that's the shame. Another bit of a lost talent, old AB.
It's the same old case, mate. It's the classic case of talent not working hard enough. You know, when you look at guys like Ricky Burns, who didn't even have fifth of talent that Broner should have had or showed Broner it was showing, but he had the ethic and he made so much more out of it than that as well. You know, Broner at 130 was a beast. He really was. Des was saying about Gavin Rees, for example. Gavin Rees was a top solid fighter who'd come back after being world champ. I think he was no European champ at that time, possibly. And
he won the WBA against Solomon and Boy, didn't he? Then
but he was away for a while.
By Kotelnik. Yeah, he come back and won the European. I'm pretty
sure. He was up at 140 for that WBA title win, I think it was, and he'd retired for a wee bit, and he come back and won the prize fighter, I think, and then I think he might have won the European title. Maybe be wrong, but he come back with a couple of decent wins anyway. Got the Broner fight, and he just got bounced about the place. That was probably peak Broner at that point in terms of skills and his killer instinct.
Yeah.
And
look at the DeMarco fight, Andy. Antonio DeMarco was no mug, and he had some good wins afterwards. And Broner absolutely beat the shit out of him.
Just pinged them all about the place, mate. That when Broner could pull that right punch counter on that man, it was rapid. He could get some pace on it, but again, it was just like everything else. He was living the lifestyle like Floyd was living, but he wasn't doing the work that Floyd was doing. He was eating the Mars bars, Kentucky Fried Chickens. That just wasn't putting the same effort in to try and take
doing the superficial work, but not the work that Floyd was doing behind the scenes.
Exactly. Floyd was a gym rat. If Floyd was in the club, Floyd ran home from the club. Whereas Broner was in the club, and Broner was in the club getting pissed. Whereas Floyd was in there having a good time, no drinking, no drugs that we know of, and then he's away jogging home with his team and that type of thing. That is the lifestyle. Broner just loved the lifestyle in terms of like what it brought. He mentioned it, pussy and alcohol and everything else. It was his downfall, wasn't it?
Yep.
Fucking fantastic.
Downed many a great man, and me and Andy did a punches from the past with. Tell you what, there's one for you, Andy. How about we put up the punches from the past AB against Maidana next Sunday evening at 8 o'clock, just to celebrate.
As I say, see last December when I was away sick, he's missed the anniversary. It was always my job to mention the anniversary of that fight every December on the podcast, and he's forgot all about it. So this year we should actually make it a theme for this podcast going forward. But I agree with you. You should put that out there.
Yes,
mate, that needs to be pay-per-view, surely.
We need to give it a back.
Some of our best work.
In return for David Palmer, there is thrown in a 10. He says, anybody can get it. Shout out to David Palmer has thrown in a 10 super chat. That swayed me, that tenner from David Palmer. We'll put up AB against Maidana. As Andy said, it should be pay-per-view. But we're a generous, altruistic bunch here over at the Asylum, so we'll throw it out for you as best as we can. Right, let's get on to the bits and pieces that people have thrown in. Yep, absolutely, Johnny. 79p super chat. A lost leader.
This year. Wow, 10 years this year for that fight, mate.
Yep, I know, it's crazy. The time flies by. 10 years this year, says Josh Ford. Sandy Ryan, Saturday the 24th of June in the Ancora County Ground in Nottingham. Tickets go on sale. I don't know if she's singing or fighting an Argentinian or what she's doing.
What's Skittle?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm past that era. Maybe someone in chat can let us know.
It looks like you remember the teenage girls magazines. What they call
no, just chat.
That's what it looks like, yeah. It's like fucking Peppa Pig
free
magazine.
cassette tape and a poster of I don't know, someone from the Backstreet Boys.
Or you get that plastic ram on the front. You get like a pencil case and a fucking fake watch and shit like that. That's what you're missing there, isn't it?
For goodness sake.
About £8. You're like, fucking £8.
Just 17.
Fucking hell.
Skiddle. Shout out to Skiddle indeed. Blimey, cocaine only prohibited in competition per the WADA code. And if you saw this one, Andy, the Gypsy King over in Thailand, fit me, he was gurning like a bad one with old Tyson Fury. Mental health crisis! Fit me, there's a crisis going on in the stands that night anyway.
Well, I know Chris W is saying there that blimey, cocaine only prohibited in competition per the WADA code. I wouldn't want to be getting caught in Thailand with a bag of fucking bag of powder, mate, I'll tell you that. Fucking Jesus, it's 30 years in the jail and they don't fuck about over there. Like, Tyson would be fucking forced to fight for his freedom, possibly, you know? Like, poor, what do you call him? Oh, who's that? I'm that wrong. Remember him?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
He had to fight for his freedom.
Yes, he would. Yeah, the old prison canteen days. Shout out to the Nutters meetup last week. Someone was asking for some photos of real women with the boys, and indeed I have come across some. There we are. There's the lads. There's Danny Young, Richard Graville, MTK Enforcer, Hattam as well, loving life at the front there. Joe Burns.
Who's the guy with the back left behind the baldy-headed guy?
The baldy-headed guy is Mike Thompson, and next to him, I think, is Matt Butters.
So Matt Butters looks like he's ready to risk it all there. By look at that. He's going, ooh. So Matt Butters, tell me, mate, what are you thinking there? I want to know. I'm a swatch at the Hooters.
Fighting your way out to Hooters like Thailand, I think, at the end of the night.
Look at Danny in the back there, by the way. Hey! you talk about Fury fucking gunning. Look at Ricky, man. He's gunning like a
Ricky's off water for a week. He's off the cycle. Shout out to the boys, having a great time there. Talking of having a great time, anything goes with James Inglis, Peter Fury, and his little caption there, Andy, boxing trainer and former drug lord. Get that on the LinkedIn.
Oh man, I didn't listen to James English actually, to be fair, but I've seen a couple. I might actually watch it because I like Peter, but I can only imagine what's going to be. So, Peter, how did it all begin? Well, fuck. That's how he starts it with, eh? How did it all begin? Fuck me.
There's rapping Rob Kelly sliding in there. Oh, Rob, get this on your LinkedIn. Peter Fury, boxing trainer and former drug lord. PhD.
I've got my own title going on there instead of the growth, the latest of all time. I've finally fucking beat my own record, I think. Sorry about that, guys.
You're that late, Rob. You're on for the start of next week's show.
But listen, the only thing I say is that I am late for everything. So it's not work, fucking engagements, fucking people's fucking, appointments, shit like that. I'm always late.
Shout out to Rapping Rob Kelly. It's always great to have him along with us.
Steve, we'll hope we get out of there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll get his views on the fight
boys.
shortly.
Kick back.
Rewind.
We'll get his thoughts on the fight soon. Joe Burns on Twitter tweeted Rick Glazer. He said, "Have you worked with the Kinahan cartel, the US Sam Jones?" And Rick Glazer says, "Relax, you mental midget." Fucking mental midget. Oh, he's bonkers, isn't he, Glazer? I still don't know what he does to this day. What fights he's ever made, I couldn't tell you.
Oh, mate, that's your grifter. That is your world-class grifter, that one, mate.
Oh, he is.
He's fucking begging for the scraps for Uncle Dan's table. That's what he's doing.
Begging for the scraps. Didn't see this last night. I don't know if you saw the ring walks or not. A very special ring walk for Josh Taylor. The Red Hot Chili Pipers were seeing him into the ring.
No, I didn't see it. But Josh has said before when he hears the bagpipes, it generally gets him fired up. Well, it never fucking fired him up last night anyway. So maybe he needs to rethink these entrances as well compared to how he's weight and that. So
certainly the joke might be on us now. Teofimo Senior beforehand said the face of boxing right now is Canelo. After June the 10th, it will be Teofimo Lopez. Not sure if this is a Bellew of the week now or not, Rob.
You almost have forgot.
Aye.
I must have forgot about Tio. I certainly did anyway. Fucking hell. Stinking pick last week. That was fuck's sake.
Yeah, you're one of the only one. I think fucking the vast majority of boxing fans who are invested in the sport would probably all say the same thing, to be fair.
Imagine he's like some kind of fucking performance artist, Tio, and he's just luring everybody in with this fucking fragile mental act, and he's really like fucking Kaiser Soze at the end. He's going to walk off with all the fucking unified titles up to fucking 47. Joke be on me.
He is, man. He's like Cambosos, isn't he? Doing his business before the art of war and all that. All right. A shout out to friend of the pod, Declan Graffin, aka Declan Graffine. Not that I want to dip into WhatsApp messages, but it was funny. He messaged me beforehand and he said, everybody said points on the pod. Can't believe none of you picked Taylor stoppage. Tio's going to quit. A state of him today. I know he's always been mad, but he's all over the place. Way worse. And then afterwards, he messaged me and says, I'm retiring from predictions. That's all I heard from him today.
Oh, there's nothing worse, mate, when you get it spectacularly
He's
wrong.
not the only one, Andy. He's not the
I
only
mean,
one.
I remember I went in that big spiel about the Lomachenko fight before Lopez, convinced that Loma was going to fucking IQ him like up the wazoo, take him to school, primary school, high school, university, college, all within 36 minutes. And fuck me, did they turn the fucking tables on me that night?
I know, he's a bastard. I thought he was going to fucking decapitate Campos as well, and he fucked me on that one as well. Like,
Exactly.
I'm not calling any more Lopez fights, no more.
He's getting a bit like Hopkins for me. I always backed against Hopkins up until we fucking fought Kovalev. I said he's going to beat Kovalev, and he was fucking beat off him. I was like, fuck.
Yes.
How he fucking survived that night, I don't know. How the fuck he got through those first rounds.
Talk about Hopkins, oh man. How much is he more like Howard Eastman these days? You see him? You see him sitting ringside there last night?
Well, here's a question for you, Andy. Would he now, the way he is, give a better performance against his former self than Howard Eastman did on that night? Because Howard was pretty terrible, man.
Fucking awful fight, mate. There was some shite and fucking
That was a bad one, wasn't it?
Days, like, and they fought, how many times did they fight to? Well, the one say.
Yeah, that was enough, yeah.
Oh, it's Mercado I'm thinking about. This
Segundo Mercado. Yeah, well, that was the exciting Hopkins era against Mercado.
That's right.
Eastman was Hopkins was good, but he absolutely neutralised Howard Eastman that night. That was painful to watch. And Howard had gone 5-6 years waiting for that shot.
I know. The thing is with Hopkins that if you couldn't force him into a fight, he was happy just to sit off and pick you as soon as you came in.
That's what he did. Hold and hug and grab and jab, yeah.
Just enough to pick up the points, and that was enough.
Yeah. Talking of holding and hugging, grabbing and jabbing, Sonny Edwards is our next nomination. He says, I want to be on Netflix. Eddie can help me. I'm not... What?
Hey? What, like have his own Netflix special, or what's Eddie got to do with Netflix? I tell you what, I'm going to shut the fuck up. I'm not saying anything about Sonny Edwards. Fuck that, man. Too much time on his hands. Good for him, man. I hope he gets there. Fuck that.
Well, more entertaining. Shanika Johnson.
This is the content we need, mate.
There we are. Got stuck in with a painted-on bra.
All for us.
Yeah, very nice.
There's Diamante.
I'm not complaining. I don't think you would get many. I think you got the tea towel and he said, but he's fucking. No many complaints would be getting made there, I don't think.
He's telling her that's painted onto his head as well, just lying all over the place. He's just fucking blatant lies.
No, it's no, mate. He's went in and says, excuse me, are those real breasts?
Powerful legs, anyway.
Someone said the other day, I can't remember who it was, Rob, but they said that Diamante's motorcycle accident came from his hair getting caught in the wheels.
And the spike.
Fucking brilliant.
Some bad
very powerful legs there.
Was she some sort of pally? Who was it? Was it Ebony Bridges or something like that? Or was it Ellie Scotney she was a friend of?
This one?
She's fighting Scotney, wasn't she? So she probably
was she? Right, sorry.
She's from down under.
I never seen it, so I remember seeing the picture, so.
She's big down under, apparently. Well, according to that photo, anyway.
Well, she seems to have shaved plenty anyway, so. There's no spider's legs thing at the side of it.
Jesus. She's promoting her OnlyFans, isn't she? She's taking a cue from FJ. Come and talk to me on my OnlyFans if you want to talk to me directly.
The Shanika Johnson Appreciation Society on Facebook, Rob.
That's fucking thriving. That is hopping at the moment.
Oh dear. What else have we got here? Matthew Kemp. Bellew just described Sonny Edwards as the modern day Nassim Hamed. And Dave says lads in the crowd with matching boxing t-shirts on. Well, there wasn't too many, Andy, from what I saw.
I didn't even watch that because it's death taxes and Sonny Edwards by YGD, isn't it? Like, there's no point watching it. Like, fuck.
That's what I'm saying. I checked and watched the Champions League final through, and when it finished, it was into round 7. I said, right, okay, I'll watch it for here. I didn't even bother attempting to watch back into the final. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, shout out to Des. He says Eastman was awesome. Shows you how good Hopkins was. Absolutely, for all the joking. For him to neutralise a fighter of Howard Eastman's ability and capability. Although Eastman was a bit lazy, wasn't he? Especially in the likes of the Joppy fight. But yeah, Hopkins just completely shut him the hell down. Another nomination for the Westlife being on comms for DAZN. I'm sorry, DAZN is just a mute central for me these days. I can't listen to them boys. Barker and that other fellow. Is it Chris Lloyd or something? Or is it Chris something?
Oh, the fucking the DAZN USA card was the commentary was absolutely stinking. Sergio Mora was doing his best Manny Stewart impression. The whole fucking fight, he was telling both of them to go to the body. This guy needs to go to the body. What you do if you can't hit the chin is you punch the chest. He needs to get back down to the body. Like, will you shut up, man? We know. Like, fucking relax with the fucking body. Jesus Christ, like making a stallion. Body, yaddy, 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 yaddy. Fuck me.
Steve, I've got a late entry for you here, mate, if you can get it. No, I maybe sent it to you, actually, but this is classic. Tyrone Booth.
Oh.
There you go.
Aye.
So you can stick that one up, mate.
I'll try and cut that one as we go through.
Be safe.
Be safe. Yeah,
absolutely being safe.
Be safe with Carson Jones's head. Belly of the week for his latest loss. Not for his latest loss, sorry, for his head. He lost to Callum Walsh there over in California at the weekend, Rob. He's doing bits with the old head there.
Carson didn't always look. His head, is that a recent Lebedev job, kind of? Yeah, it's good for him.
Maybe,
Still
it's a good one. Yeah.
Looks like you got a cock growing out there, man. All you need really, see, all you
looks
really
like you'd have
need
good crack, like if you fell asleep at a party and you had a magic marker.
Draw a line down it.
Yeah.
Aye, draw a line right down that, man. That's what that is. That's a German helmet right there.
Oh, fuck's sake, Andy, man. I just brought up that one that you sent.
Gave Kell Brook a tough time, didn't he?
Oh, he did, absolutely.
In the first fight, he did Carson, yeah.
GP plus. Oh, Andy. For
fuck's sake. Throw him, like, Jesus. Who fucking do that, man?
Needs put down, man. Needs put down, doesn't he, Toya?
I think you see she's got teeth missing and everything.
Oh, I feel bad putting that one up.
That fucking that slaty grey bogging skin that they've got.
She makes him look positively healthy. Anyway. The quote was kicking off. She said, I was looking forward to going to the Taylor Lopez fight, but I guess a world champion of my caliber is not good enough to get comp tickets like the other world champions in my sport, top rank boxing. I'm just going to book my flight to Florida and watch the fight on TV. Ridiculous. And Top Rank says, hey, champ, we always love to have you at Top Rank events. When your team called 2 days ago, we were sold out on the first few floor rows. We offered your representatives other seats, which were declined. And then the quote gave a very good reason. Respectfully, I can't not sit on the floor. I'll be taking pics with fans all night and not be able to enjoy the fight. So humble brag there for the quote. Thanks for the response. I'm on board my flight now. Bye.
I love how she calls herself the goalie. Fucking guy and take a once she cries at women's boxing doesn't get enough coverage, right? She wants them to spend the hard-earned cash and then doesn't want to take a fucking picture with said fans who pay the hard-earned cash.
No, you're being a bit harsh on the quote. After Katie Taylor, she said, are you ready to admit that I'm the quote now? And I felt like saying, nobody gives a fucking, nobody's talking about that, only you. It's just fucking your conversation. Nobody gives a shit about the quote. She's
it's not begging, even a discussion. Man. She is begging. I actually feel a bit
I like the quote, though. The quote's a good fighter. If she could knock people out, she might actually draw some fans in because she is very good. But she was breaking it down anyway after that she always has time for the fans. But a bit like that myself, you don't want to be mobbed for photos when you're out. You know, I get what the quote is on about there. Like,
sympathy with the quote from Rob there. IFL TV getting nomination. Hashtag Edwards Campos. Round one. Yes. Campos starts fast as expected. And Edwards gives him space to get his shots away. Edwards starts to let his hands go, though, once he's downloaded the Campos data.
Oh, it's been all IFL went all Mike Kriegel here.
I fucking hate that phrase, download the data. Oh my god, it's so fucking, it's like touchdown quarterback, overpass, download the data. Fuck off.
A shot in the 20-meter box.
Corner ball.
Kick ball.
Oh
fuck's sake.
What else have we got here? Oh, Danny Young sent this one in to me. As if you thought boxing couldn't go any lower. Here's a John Fisher lookalike getting stuck in over somewhere. Whether it's Poland or Russia or somewhere.
Как получится? Цель отвлекать своей сексуальностью, чтобы забивать Гришу. А другие должны атаковать. Разозлился не на шутку. Хитрая тактика, он что-то задумал. Как вы думаете?
Как активно начала красная бить его!
Кидышка.
What the fuck is that?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Aussie for this one, like.
I want to see it as the fucking. I want to see it reenacted on the next big Chinese sit down.
The good thing about that clip, Steve, is Russian, so we don't get them for copyright.
Yes.
But that's quadruple fucking bash, that man.
Big John, you reckon, is going down as one of the fucking all-time GOAT cult heroes of the fucking Belly of the Week, is he? Like, I think he's on the way to overtaking and eclipsing Father Dave, because Andy's most favorite person in the world, Nicola Sturgeon, got arrested today, and he tweeted Bosh.
Fucking
Bosh. I love John Fisher, man.
Oh dear. Well, John Fisher's friend, the Gad, tweeted out during the week, account hacked, reported to Twitter. Gad.
He's getting out in front of something there, isn't he?
Oh, good.
Torque gate.
I'm going to go check his likes right now. Actually, see what he's got in there. He's got some fucking dangerous material.
He's getting out of Dodge in here early, the Gad.
He's got out ahead of something there. Somebody's received a fucking nice DM talking about the torque in there.
But he's referring to himself as well as Gad at the end of the tweet. I'm a fan of that, Rob, to be honest.
Rob is a fan of that as well, Steve.
Yeah, Steve, I've got another one for you actually for the liking the old. If you can get these two pictures up of the Gad.
Yep. Throw them into the chat and I will cut them as best I can. In the meantime, Eddie, nothing to do with me, mate. I don't follow a lot of what's said on Twitter in all honesty. Eddie not aware reports that Daniel Kinahan is still involved in boxing. Nothing to do with me, go.
Fucking Eddie tight lips over there. Nobody saw nothing.
Eddie tight arse as well, mate. He fucking arse with clapping the now. I was at boxing news. I'd put out I wanted to try and get the actual quote actually, because I think Stephen Espinosa even read it as well, so he's fucking managed to jump on. He never misses a moment to fucking lay the boot in.
Oh, he loves it. He's bad as us, he is.
I know why.
Espinosa's coming on the bouncer.
He is, man. He's like us, isn't he? Nothing's beneath him.
Bitter bastards.
Get a life, Espinosa.
Where's the fucking tweets, man? I must have them saved somewhere.
Yeah, there's the Gad.
Fucking, we're going to stay at that. The fucking Gad.
Yeah.
Oh, here it's here.
I'm sure no one will mind.
This is relating to Eddie not being aware of what's getting said on Twitter, doesn't he pay attention? Box News has been told by multiple sources that he, Kinahan, bankrolled some major events in Britain during the 2-year pandemic, fights that otherwise could not have possibly occurred in such a restrictive economic environment. Cha-ching! And Eddie's charging £6 a slice of pizza in his back garden. So Eddie doesn't know much though. See nothing, hear nothing. Speak no evil, hear no evil.
No, nothing to do with Eddie.
And we were doing nothing for the whole pandemic. We could have been easily bought and paid for. Fucking they lacked vision a bit. They were a great bunch of lads, but they lacked vision. We were making our fantasy fights to stop us from killing our wives. And then we fucking, you know what I mean? We were there for the taking. Missed opportunity, really.
But you see that, you went with the Fight Disciples. Helmut, Heed, and Hammerhead.
What a waste of money.
Remember when they were with Probellum and they got titled Talent.
Oh, Probellum, yeah. Disrupt Boxing. The new
we could have been rebranding the Asylum every couple of weeks. Fucking different name. We're back again.
We'd fucking need to.
We're back with a new venture, aiming to fucking bridge lots of gaps in boxing that have never been bridged before. Fuck me.
Yeah, Combat Coin Asylum, brought to you from Dubai.
Yeah,
Combat Asylum.
Combat Asylum. Here, Steve, here's another Gad special. You can get that one, mate.
You see Mark Stanton, he says, Gad opened a DM from Bazza Hearn, so they need to abandon ship.
Abandon ship? You've got a country without extradition to fucking the UK, mate.
Or they could just get a private jet, probably. Off someone.
Epstein did, mate. Epstein died.
Robert Maxwell going overboard. Right, what have we got here? Let's see if we get this final one up from Andy, and then we will go on to whatever the boys have got for this week. Just get rid of Mark Stanton. Metaphorically, of course. We're not going to get rid of you in a kind of MTK way, Mark. But there's the Gad getting stuck in it. It's class, isn't it?
Is that his face, like, or is it a Bolsonaro mask or something? What the fuck is he just?
Look at him. He's
face at this stage, man. And he's like,
I'll try to squeeze in here.
It is a bit will they won't they though, isn't it? Like if you're at that vantage point, what would be next on your mind? You know what I mean?
You know something. Listen, Gary, if you're listening to this, it's all a joke, mate. It's all a bit of banter. But I didn't want to be reading in 20 years' time and say to myself, I fucking knew it. I knew it. Don't do it, God.
It's hacked, man. He was hacked. Give him a break. He was fucking hacked.
It probably explains a lot, actually. It's a joke. Remember? It's a joke.
I shouldn't be telling this story, but a friend of mine, he always suspected you, man. Do you remember for the Really Wild show? That program that was on? You remember Terry Nutkins? He always used to go, I'm telling you, Terry Nutkins, it's only a matter of time. Has they got Terry yet?
The thing is, I can remember who was it asked him the question, and it was kind of like veiled, like was something along the lines. It was Belly of the Week. It was Belly of the Week. That's what it was. You can see the guy. He is trying his absolute best to hide the fact that he doesn't know what it fucking means, because he's trying to say, "What does that mean? Does that mean like you're a troll or a helmet or something like that?" I'm saying, "You fucking know who we are."
Is that disrespectful to me?
Yeah, am I a bell end? Am I? I'm in a sewer.
That's what it was.
No, I get it. It's totally fine. Totally fine.
Oh gosh.
Brilliant, man. That's brilliant. The
guy living his best life. He is, isn't he? Fair play to him. Like,
you two got a kiss. I'm sure no one will mind.
Getting in.
Yeah, he's probably going in there for the motorboat, eh?
Right.
Bastard.
Those are all the ones I've got, Andy. Any nominations from you that you haven't already sent to me?
I don't know, mate. Well, Leonard Ellerby was kind of going a bit mental, actually. So Lopez Sr. had been saying that they want Gervonta Davis for Junior. We're waiting for him for next fight, and he comes back and says, "You're the most delusional motherfucker I've seen in boxing." So old Leonard doesn't really fucking take too kind of it. One for Bellew, actually. I'm fucking certain last night he says that Chocolatito had fought Rodriguez before. Jesse Rodriguez, that is.
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
I didn't care.
So one for that, mate. And there was another one that's in the back of my mind. I've not got it written down. Go to Rob the now, mate. It'll come back to me.
No problem, Rob.
Yeah, just I mean Lopez Senior for the fucking antics in the run up for the Josh Taylor fight. Luckily for him, it didn't affect him on the night, his performance. But that kind of relationship has a fucking expiry date, and you can see it coming soon. Honestly, like, look tragic. Eddie and Frank for a little back of. It's funny, like. Fuck off with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Nobody gives a shit what they're doing. We waited too long for it. Like, you know what I mean? You just made it way too long for it. Nobody cares about it anymore. Stop trying to announce it. Stop trying to best each other in the fucking public. They won't sign it. We won't sign it. It can't get done. It won't get done. Nobody gives a bollocks, man. There's good fights happening now. Do you know what I mean? You've had Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. You've got Bud, Crawford and Spence coming up. We had Ryan Garcia and Tank. We've had big fights. We don't need these two fucking oafs to hold up the fucking fight landscape. Like, Canelo's been active recently. Nobody cares. Like, so this back and forth feels like it's been going on for 5 years. It's just the most tiresome thing in boxing, like between that and the Conor Benn saga. So boring as fuck from Fury, and probably more so from Fury these days, actually. Boring as shit. Like, and this back and forth with Eddie and Frank was pathetic. That and what else? There was a funny one as well, but I'm about to forget it now. You're going to have to call to Andy and come back to me.
I'm so trying to find the other one, mate.
No, what was it? What was the one I was?
There was one.
Gone from my head.
Well, Johnny's throwing in his late nomination for Bellew's shirt buttons last night for managing to stay on for the whole show. Hopkins
for looking like Howard Eastman, by the way. I don't know if I threw that one in there. The Bosch Army.
Oh,
the Bosch Army.
The Bosch Army.
Getting off at London Tube Station. Fucking Jesus, man. Anybody see? I had to run for cover, mate. I had to run for cover if I can see that lot coming.
I'd rather fucking I'd run quicker from Dad's army, I think.
Don't panic.
That and Sergio Mora for his relentless fucking body attack commentary. It's like someone fucking slipped him a note. You know the way he's like notoriously unprepared, Sergio Mora. He got caught out before Oh no, that was him. It wasn't him. That was BJ Flores. But yeah, like he just always seems really badly prepared when he's calling the fights. Like, but the body seemed to be his go-to fucking reference point last night, and he just would not fucking shut the fuck up during the Derevyanchenko Mungia fight about each guy respectively going to the body. It was like a body count, basically.
More as previous, he's reinvented himself, Rob. He was quite spicy on Twitter back in the day. There's some screenshots out there. The boys never forget of more.
Has he got hot takes on fucking COVID or whatever?
He's got some hot takes on quite a few things. I'll have to try and
Good
fish
stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he was having a bit of a melter, and then Oscar, age AB, of course, for his fucking post-fight fucking interview.
We played it. I don't think you were here, were you? We played that.
Oh, I just missed that. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. Like the guy, like just when you think he might have a chance of getting himself right, like back into a mix of a big fight at 140, they're like, "What's next, pussy?" He's just like so crass, and he just can't turn off, can he? Like he just cannot play duplicate. And then you got Don King in the background, deaf as a post, going, "Oh lordy, you heard it right here." It was so
and Ray Mancini in the middle of it trying to stick his sentence together.
Poor Ray Mancini just getting hit with the fucking pussy answer straight away. Didn't know what to fucking do. Ray Mancini looks like fucking Henry Winkler, don't he? Like he looks like Henry Winkler could play him in the movie right
the
now.
Fonz.
Like, yeah, the Fonz.
The leather jacket. He looks like the fucking Fonz.
He looks like the Fonz, but when the Fonz was in like the Waterboy movie, like or whatever, or in the Arrested Development.
Washed.
Washed up version of the Fonz. But yeah, so that was a car crash. Like fuck me, and there was no ring to it either. It was like, I am the car man. Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans. No offense to anybody in the legal business. Lawyers can get it. There was like, what the fuck does that mean?
That's the other one Steve was going to say was Don King's fucking setup there. He had fucking patio furniture around about that ring there. I just seen Tim Box.
Hasn't been paid for yet either. That's on the fucking HP, isn't it?
The women. Oh, not them. Them.
The boys, look at the boys' wrist.
That's the Don King women. That's the Sugar Babes. Nice. And that was the Hooters with the Nutters meter.
Matt Butler's ready to fucking brisk it all, as I says. Look where his hand is, by the way. Look, you see his watch. You see it coming in there. You see it, yeah.
He's not in the chat tonight.
Well, it makes sense that
he'll be in the chat shortly once the boys tell him.
Makes sense that all the women in that picture were employed in the venue that I was taken in. Oh God!
Any more, boys?
That's it for me, mate.
Okie doke. Got the guard. Guard again. Ready? The guard. We got the downloading the data. We got the quote. Huffing. We got Tyan. Carson Jones's head. We got the zone. We got the zone card. We got the painted on bar for Shinika. Sonny Edwards. We got Teofimo Lopez. We got the Red Hot Chili Pipers. The mental midget, that is Rick Glazer, former drug lord. We've got the boys.
Hey.
We've got Tyson gurning away there. We've got Sandy Ryan turning up in Just 17 magazine.
Plus magazine.
We had the AB's post-fight interview as well, which we played earlier.
End of summer tour, what?
Danny Young video. Yeah, with no idea. Rob was saying it looks like the old Just 17 magazines from back in the day. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh my God. I have an end up story. I'll tell you this after the pod.
Dead on. In the meantime, who are you going for this week, Andrew?
I'll probably go for a guard, mate.
Oh, multiple offences.
Oh, mate.
Body of work.
Oh, hi.
Bodies in the basement.
Bodies everywhere.
He's got some boxer resume on it.
Oh, mate, every week he's hey, hang on, you got to admire a guy, man. He's a true credit to his craft, man. He's there grafting. He's working every week. Yeah,
he's a stronger resume than Fraser Clark.
Mate, he's got a stronger resume than Fred West. It's a joke. Oh my God, speak to Donny Baseball.
Oh dear. God for you then,
What's
Andy.
that?
God,
What's that? You hear that?
Go on, yeah.
The grinder.
Fred West putting the kids to bed, innit? That's an old one. Don't blame me. I'm just fucking regurgitating it.
Allegedly. Stick that in there as well.
Right, Rob, who you go for?
Fred West. No, the guy.
The guy as well. I was going to go for AB's post-fight interview, but yeah, I suppose.
Clarissa Shields one. Clarissa Shields one was quite solid because talk about entitlement, man. Fuck me.
Tell you what, like for the continuity of the pod and AB's GOAT status as a fucking fixture on Bellew of the Week, it has to be like he's come from shut that soft ass shit up, fucking verbal war with Leonard Ellerby to prop it up the very last hope that Don King has in 2023 to be a world champion at 140, and the first word out of his mouth to Ray, boom, and seen he was so pussy. Fuck me, unbelievable for maybe like brilliant.
There we go then. Congratulations, Adrien Broner. You're not going to win a world title anytime soon, but you have won the Belly of the Week for episode 527. Quick shout out to the Super Chatters before we get Robin for his opinions on the fights earlier on. Let me find out who they were indeed. We had Beatbot Boop, who's disappeared since, one of our American correspondents. Shout out to him. Shout out to Chase Athletics, actually. Hope you're all right if you're listening out there. Haven't seen you in the chat for a while. We also had Johnny Horsecock Nelson, who threw in a princely sum of 79p. And regular contributor David Palmer threw in a tenner as well. Rob, we had Teofimo Lopez pulling the wool over Josh Taylor's eyes. We thought Taylor looked a bit listless last night. Teofimo pulling off the big win. Jaime Munguia with the fight of the night against Sergei Derevyanchenko. What floated your boat, Rob?
Yeah, both of those. Like, I thought the Teofimo Lopez performance was really good. Actually, you're lucky for you, Steve. You're coming to me at 10 past 10. I've done a round-by-round dossier on each of these fights. No, I'm joking. I think Lopez he's very athletic, so he was able to kind of leap in and out of range. Couldn't miss with the fucking right hand. I thought Taylor was a bit dead. Didn't really offer much to try and get back into the fight. It was kind of huffing and puffing a little bit. But Lopez didn't have to be brilliant in setting up the shots. Now, in the end, he ended up like walking him onto uppercuts and everything. He was like fucking having a field day towards the end of the fight. I thought the 115, 113 cards were a joke. Thought Lopez was a clear winner. Clear winner. And Taylor looked a bit dead, to be honest with you. And like this move to 147, I think the top guys at 47 would absolutely fucking kill him based on his last two performances. But going into the fight, I didn't see it playing out like that. I thought Taylor back to a bit of form, like his previous at 140 shown like fucking gritty victories against hard fighters like Ramirez, fucking Prograis, Baranchek. He's been smashing through like Postol, top guys like. And I thought like after Lopez's last performance against Sandor Mountain that he'd be a bit slower, a bit more kind of second to the punch, but he dominated. He seemed to be able to load up on the right hand anytime he wanted to. Taylor was feeling it, so he's carrying power up. And whatever you say about Lopez, he's now beat the man in two divisions, so he might not be like the universally thought of best 140 pounder, but he's beaten the man who was the man at fucking 140 in Josh Taylor, and at 135 in Lomachenko as well. So he's got something, a hope for him that he can somehow fucking escape the fucking, like he looked completely disheveled in the post fight again, ranting, rambling, confronting the media, but then like seeking their approval and stuff. It's obvious like that the chap is not that fucking bright. Like, and I just hope that for his sake, he is a really good fighter, that he's able to kind of escape the inner circle that he's with at the moment, which I don't see. So it'll be always interesting watching him fighting because, you know, he is talented, he has power, he's exciting, and he comes to fight when he's on his game. So it will be interesting to see what happens. And then there's always the circus that follows him as well. Unfortunately for him, that's going to play a factor in how far he goes in his career. So that was a good fight. Mungia, and in terms of Taylor, what he does next, is it because he ditched McGuigan, or has he got old overnight in the inactivity and the weight training, etc.? If he's going to campaign at 47, I don't see it for him. I don't see him becoming a 2-weight world champion, but he'd have nothing to be embarrassed about if he just called it a day. Said I don't have it anymore. I don't see that for Josh Taylor. I think he will want to fight again. Like whether it's at 40 or 47 remains to be seen. Mungia quickly, and on Mungia and Derevyanchenko, it's a kind of fight that delivered based on not really knowing where these two guys are for me. Like I didn't know what was left from Derevyanchenko. He's been in some rough nights. And in terms of Mungia, he always seems to be matched correctly. Like from the time they first start linking his name with Golovkin to now, he seemed to have had an easy road of it. But last night was fucking just one of those fights that just accidental value almost. Like, you know that it's going to be a good contest and both are not going to give ground by their styles, but you don't expect that it's going to play out like that. And actually, you thought Mungia showed a bit of nous in the end to go to the body, as fucking Sergio was saying on the card. But in this instance, to drop that little left hand in towards the end, it just sucked the life out of Derevyanchenko, and he was in survival mode. So close fight. Love to see it again, but probably took its toll on both of those guys. Like, hasn't it? Like, Mungia ships way too much punishment, way too much. Like, doesn't seem to bother with. He's like, fucking, I'm not moving my head. He's kind of like Fondor in that way, isn't it? It's like he has a style that he has, and he doesn't want to. He doesn't really show much adjustments or whatever. He just has one way of fighting, but hard bastard as well. Like, and the two of them can come away with their heads held high. That they gave some fucking serious entertainment. Like this, some of the shots they were shipping in the fifth. Fucking hell! Like, it's like, how did they? You know, you would, if one of them had jacked it at that stage, you wouldn't have fucking. You would have just said, "All right, fair enough."
Like, the year that round 5. Like.
So
great atmosphere too alongside it, man. Carrying it along, it looked class in there.
Yeah, so I don't know. Would you reckon that those two will do it again, or would it probably look for move Mungia on now? Like,
I don't know, mate. Derevyanchenko is just too risky. It's too high risk.
Dangerous,
really.
Yeah, they'll go back to the Demetrius Ballard level again, I think, maybe for a fight, and then see about moving him up.
But he's not going to get
maybe Golovkin.
Is he? Well,
they're saying that in the chat,
Golovkin from Mungia,
I don't know at this point. I mean, you would probably fancy Mungia's chances to see the distance, considering how he takes the punishment. But Golovkin isn't really kind of thrown like he used to be, you know. So you probably fancy him to kind of see it out.
It might be another one of those unintentional fucking good value fights. Like,
but then Mungia's prime is marked territory. You know, like it's ready. It's any time he could go at a hill. It's just taking too much.
Yeah.
Triple G's done and Mungia is very raw, so I think that'll turn out to be quite a fun fight, actually.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, it could be just one of those fucking ones where it's just you're not expecting anything from it, no title on the line or whatever. Or maybe there is. I don't know. I can't keep up with the titles. I'm sure someone will be fucking what you call it.
WBC Silver Super Middleweight title was on the line last night.
Yeah, I can't believe I fucking don't know that. What a fucking amateur.
Good stuff.
I didn't care it was up at 168 until they fucking read out the fighters.
Yeah, I know. Who knows what's going on these days? Well, I'll tell you what is going on. We're getting out of here for one night. Thank you, everybody, to the chat who's jumped in there and had a good time as always. They seem to have enjoyed themselves. Andy's been with us, and so has rapping Rob Kelly. I reiterate, there is no show next weekend, as we can't muscle up the numbers. So there is no show next weekend. But we might do a midweek show or something to wrap things up, maybe on the Wednesday night, Thursday night, something like that, to keep things ticking. But we'll be back for 5 to 8, which by my calculations, let me bring up the little calendar thing here. Yeah, it's 25th of June. So we'll be back on the 25th of June, all being well. In the meantime, we'll do a midweek, and I'll put up that Broner Maidana Punches from the Past next Sunday evening, so you'll have something to... You'll have a medium to sit and chat shit to each other in the chat if that's what you want. Thanks to the super chatters, thanks to the Patreons, thanks to everybody out there. Don't forget to hit the like button and leave us a comment if you wish. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place, 25th of June. I've been Steve Wellings. Thanks to Andy, thanks to Rob, and goodbye, everybody. Bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking Stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7 year ain't it? 7 year ain't it? I won't fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds, as simple as that.